Kongversation.
How could I ever leave my shark friend behind? Especially with my Puma Mary still inside of him. They're like a sexy turducken!
Hello, and welcome to the Kongversation. I'm Hyle Russell.
And I'm Malik.
Hey, Malik! Nice to have you back so
back.
soon. Yeah, hey.
Thanks, Hyle.
I think it's a little bit weird that you've decided to hop bodies, astral project yourself into the body of one Nick Prol, but...
Well, it got a little boring up here in Canada, so I figured, why not try out the desert?
Yeah. How's it working out for you, Malik? How's the desert treating you?
The desert is nice, but this body I'm in is disgusting. It's falling apart. It looks like shit. So I'm going to go back now. Bye. Whoa, that was weird. I felt like way more charismatic and likable than normal. Hey, what's up? I'm Nick Prol.
Hey, Nick. I don't know why we're doing this episode this week. I wanted to do another character witness. This is the 20th anniversary year for Diddy Kong Racing, and we're going to be doing a Diddy Kong Racing Spotlight episode later in the year.
Hell yeah.
But I wanted to touch upon the character of Diddy Kong, I think, before then, to kind of set the stage. And I've got a lot to say about Diddy Kong, but I'm not sure if I have anything new to say about Diddy Kong. So this episode is going to be interesting because it's something,
It's well-treaded territory.
Yeah, he's a character I think I've talked about more than any other character in the history of DK Vines.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, I am drinking an Angry Orchard Hard cider this episode in honor of Diddy Kong because
At this point, you must be sponsored by these people.
No. So I was thinking, Diddy Kong likes bananas, and you know what else is a fruit? Apples. And so I felt like it was apropos to drink Angry Orchard Hard cider this episode.
That's sound logic.
Yeah, apples. So let's get to some due diligence before we get to the discussion about Diddy Kong's life story. DK Vine is on Patreon. You might know, dkvine.com/Patreon. Don't really have anything much to say about it right now, except it helps finance DK Vine. I just got a new digital camera.
Ooh.
So for, our E3 expeditions and filming some other things. So
Speaking of E3, what is this party house I keep hearing about?
well, I almost called you Malik. Nick, Cameron Regal, DK Vine staffer, and myself, Hyle Russell, DK Vine staffer, will be going out to Los Angeles on Saturday, June 10th for E3. And we will be staying in our own private bungalow in downtown Los Angeles, which we have dubbed the DK Vine Party House.
Air D&K.
Yeah, we'll be staying at the DK Vine Party House during E3, reporting all of the rare, Platonic, and Donkey Kong news. We know there's going to be rare stuff because of Sea of Thieves, but the other
two...
two...
Should have a live webcam feed of the party house so we can see all the naked chicks you guys are hanging out with and all the blow laid out on the table.
Well, we will be reporting from the LA Convention Center show floor for E3, and who knows what else we'll get out
Now,
there.
are you going to try to urinate next to Chinese executives again?
Japanese, don't be racist. I don't want to get Al Sharpon in here to reprimand you.
Yeah.
I will be doing my best to have our wangs in close proximity.
Hey, you don't know that's those guys' last name. Come on, they could be Chang, Zhang.
I was setting you up for that, and I am slightly ashamed. Anyway, DK Vine Patreon helps fund these expeditions, which will then, therefore, report to you the news you want to hear during E3. You can bypass IGN. They're not going to give you what you want.
Fuck Igen.
They're going to get exclusives. Yeah, IGN's going to get some exclusives, I'm sure, because Nintendo actually talks to them. They avoid us like the plague, but Rare likes us, so,
Maybe Igen will give what Nintendo shows them a review in process.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they like to do.
They like to do that, yeah. If they announce any new Donkey Kong games, which is doubtful, let's be honest, but if they announce any new Donkey Kong games for the Switch, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of negativity. So we will be there to, fight the tide of cynicism. So anyway, the dkbun.com/Patreon, check it out. Very shortly, we will have brand new rewards and milestones. Don't forget, too, to check out DK Vine on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. I'm running Facebook and Twitter right now. I'm double fisting it, as I like to say, and it's only mildly exhausting because to kind of reconcile the fact I'm trying to do even longer posts on Facebook, even more long-form essays. And
you have a lot of work on your hands, whereas I run the MySpace, so I'm kind of just lounging at this time. There's not much going on over there.
You're just using it to promote your band, Nick Prol and the Proletarians.
Yeah, Tom. I have one friend. His name's Tom. He's a pretty cool guy.
Don't forget, we have a new hotline to call, 1-202-630-VINE. That's 8463. And we've come up with a helpful jingle so you can remember the new number. Nick, you are the musician here. You have a new album out, by the way.
Oh, come now. I don't want to self-plug here, but...
you Nick. You like to self-plug all the time, which is one of the reasons we have so many lawsuits against us.
I do have quite a few plugs in a case under my desk right now. But, yeah, if you want to, you could go to proletarians.bandcamp.com, but that's besides the point.
That's yeah. But you do, and if people want to check it out, they can.
They can. So, I don't know why they'd want to, but...
You are the musician here, so I should let you sing the new jingle, if you want.
To reach us by cellular landline, call 1-202-630 and a word. And that word is VINE, VINE, which is 8463.
Don't forget to subscribe to The Kongversation on iTunes, rate us on iTunes, tell your friends about the show, and please help get Fabio on The Kongversation. Look, we would settle for him to call the DK Vine hotline or to have him on as a guest. Is he a fan of Donkey Kong? Is he a fan of Rare? Who cares? He's an icon of the 90s. We're rooted in 90s nostalgia.
Hey, Perry the Parallel Bird flew right into his head.
Well, if it was actually Perry, he would have flown just slightly adjacent to his head. So it was more of a swoopy from Donkey Kong Country 3.
Yes.
3, right. But yeah, please do your part to get Fabio on The Kongversation. If you know Fabio, if you know somebody who knows Fabio, let them know, hey, Fabio, The Kongversation wants to get you on the air. Thank you. And, of course, hashtag bring back the spiders.
Bring back the spiders.
I also want to touch upon Robin Beanland's bicycle trek for charity. As we've mentioned in the last 2 episodes, Robin Beanland is cycling across the entire length of Britain for 9 days in September, and he's doing it all for the charity Special Effect, who uses technology and video games to help the lives of the disabled. So if you have any money...
What a selfish prick. Showing off, oh, look at me, I can ride a bike. Boo, boo, boo. For crying out loud. Some people.
Yeah, Nick, I'm sorry. Whenever they have a charity where you can ride your rascal scooter, we will get you involved with that. But
Where's my meatloaf at? Get out of my way!
Robin Beanland is actually a physically fit man, and he's sacrificing 9 days out of his life. This sounds grueling, by the way. Thankfully, I don't think.
No, it's amazing. This is like hero stuff right here. What the hell?
Thankfully, Britain is pretty flat, so I don't think he's not going to have to go up any treacherous mountain terrain. But yeah, it's good for him. I mean, I think this is great. So if you want to help him out, throw a few bucks his way. Check out justgiving.com and do a search for Robin Beanland, and that money will go towards Special Effect. All right.
Oh, man, I donated to Trump University. God damn it.
And I didn't even know it was still functional. Yeah, wow.
I know. I put in beanland.com. I guess that's just what he calls Mexico, so it took me to Trump, I guess.
Oh, fucking Christ. So Diddy Kong, Nick.
Diddy Kong.
Yeah. Where to start with Diddy Kong, considering he's probably the second most prominent character in the Donkey Kong universe. In a lot of ways.
Next to Ted the Boat Builder.
Of course. But in a lot of ways, he's probably the most important character. And when we look at his conception, he was conceived as a redesigned Donkey Kong Jr. when Rare was sitting down and kind of crafting what Donkey Kong Country was going to be, they originally envisioned it starring the original Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr. as a sidekick. But their redesign for Donkey Kong Jr., and we've seen artwork for it now, differed too much from what Miyamoto and the rest of Nintendo were comfortable with. And so they basically gave Rare an ultimatum. Hey, you can either go with the traditional design from Donkey Kong Jr., which is basically a small gorilla in like a leotard. I always thought it was like some sort of like bib or something, but he's like wearing this like onesie. I don't, with a J on it.
He looks more like Kitty than Diddy, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The original.
And, I'm sure Kiddy Kong was partially inspired by Donkey Kong Jr. But, Nintendo's ultimatum was, hey, make him his traditional design or write this off as a new character. And I guess they were attached to this idea of Little Kong wearing a baseball cap, so they went with a new character. And Diddy Kong was born after many weird ideas for names like Diet DK. It wasn't
like Dinkle or something?
Yeah, they came up with some weird ones. Diet DK is the one that sticks in my head the most because it's just the
DK
most
classic.
It's the most 90s kind of like poking your thumb in corporatism. Yeah, it's like the most a name that wouldn't have aged well, nor would the character have persevered to this day if it had been
Crystal DK.
Yeah, well, Crystal Pepsi came back, though, so maybe we'd be looking at a Diet DK revival now.
I heard since the game was all about collecting bananas, they were going to call it Fruitopia at first.
Ah, very nice. How many times are we going to reference Fruitopia in the conversation?
I don't know, but my jokes are either falling flat or you're just not in a funny mood.
Well, no, I'm like wondering if Fruitopia is paying you, because you accused the fine folks at Angry Orchard Hard Cider of having me on the take, and now I'm wondering if
Angry Orchard makes alcohol. That's poison, Hyle. It's the bane of our society. Fruitopia makes delicious, citrusy drinks that are healthy and good for you with 0.05% real juice.
But they haven't made like Fruitopia in 15 years, so all Fruitopia would be poison now.
I make bootleg Fruitopia in my basement.
Bathtub Fruitopia?
Fruit leg. Yeah, bathtub Fruitopia.
Mm-hmm. No.
It's a good old fruit shine.
Well, I'm glad he didn't go with they didn't go with Diet DK, because I think Diddy Kong, and it's the name itself is just it's I guess it's a homophone of a ditty, like a short tune, but it just stands on its own. I think as it evokes like something small, but it also just has its own identity. And granted, Sean Puffy Combs kind of co-opted it.
I was about to say.
Right.
Given the Diddy's little boombox rap, I think it could have been prophetic in many ways.
Yeah, I mean, people don't realize probably that Diddy Kong came first. So why Sean Puffy Combs actually took that name, if it was inspired by Donkey Kong Country or not, I don't know. But yeah, Rare and Nintendo had it first.
Screw Fabio. Let's get Sean on. Let's comb through that backlog.
The thing is, P. Diddy is still kind of culturally relevant in just, broad strokes. Name. And I think we have an easier job of getting Fabio on a show. No offense to Fabio. He is yucking it up with Trump at Mar-a-Lago, but...
Has P. Diddy released any music recently?
You're asking the wrong person. I know he had Diddy Dirty Money a few years back, but that's the last I know. And I'm shocked that I know that. I don't know. I'm excited about the 50th anniversary reissue of Sgt. Pepper, Nick. You're asking the wrong guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that they went back and really combed through the history of the Beatles, because I just feel like no one's ever done that.
Well, to be fair, Nick, they haven't really released a lot of the shit that they've got in the vaults. I mean,
I kid. I'm sure it's going to be really cool to hear.
They haven't completely raked over the Beatles' libraries as much as they have other artists of that era, and
They've already announced the White Album's next, right?
Have they?
Yeah, they're doing the same thing with that.
Oh, well, that's next year, so... but, I mean, they've got 30 plus tracks, demos, and early takes from the Sgt. Pepper sessions that have never been released. So it's exciting. I mean, come on.
What if one of them is like, What if one of them is just them standing around the studio and it's like, this would be really great if Paul was still alive. Yeah. Anyway, back to the song.
Yeah, actually, one track is just Paul McCartney's autopsy.
I see here a bullet in his lower lung.
No, we ran a sheet off.
This is the doctor talking to us.
Wait, why would Paul be shot? Everybody knows he died in an automobile accident, Nick.
Oh, you're right. I need to get my lore straight. I see here a steering wheel in his lower lung.
No, John was shot. George was stabbed, although that wasn't fatal. The cancer got him in the end.
Ringo was cursed with life.
Where were we? Diddy Kong. That's right. So anyway, they stumbled upon the character of Diddy Kong to be the sidekick, and then they decided to age up the rest of the characters. Obviously, the Donkey Kong became the old man character they had designed for the game, and he was Cranky Kong. And then the current Donkey Kong arguably was Donkey Kong Jr., although that's never been made clear, and it's still not clear to this day. So
yeah, we've covered all this.
Yes,
for sure.
yes. But the interesting thing about Diddy Kong is, despite the character basically being created because of Nintendo's assistance, that they don't alter the character of Donkey Kong Jr. to that degree, throughout the years, he became Rare's baby instead. And he's the glue of the Donkey Kong universe. And if you really think about it, he is the one link between Donkey Kong, Banjo, Conker, and even arguably Star Fox. So it was his character and not Donkey Kong himself that served as the focal point for the Rare era of the Donkey Kong series. I mean,
Diddy is kind of like the Terry McGinnis of the DKU.
Oh, how so? How is Terry McGinnis a linchpin? Terry McGinnis being Batman Beyond, for those of you who don't know.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, it's Batman happened, and then they revisited it and created a younger character who was sort of the protege of Batman, who became the older character. Or maybe Terry McGinnis is Donkey Kong, Rare's Donkey Kong.
Yeah, I think Terry McGinnis...
Who does that make Spellbinder? I'm confused.
Your analogy is just falling to pieces here, Nick. But no, Diddy Kong would be the Batman of the current DC universe, in that whenever DC wants anything to sell, they'll just stick Batman in it. So in that regard, like, for a brief period of time during the Rare era of the Donkey Kong series, Diddy Kong was basically their go-to guy. And it's something that even Nintendo and Rare kind of recognized, because they remarked that Donkey Kong was viewed as Nintendo and Miyamoto's baby, hence him beginning to appear in things like Mario Kart 64 and then all of the cameo games of that era, while Diddy Kong was Rare's baby, and he, was the lead in Diddy Kong Racing, and they planned Diddy Kong Pilot for him, and, he was quickly made the star of the sequel to Donkey Kong Country. So it was kind of this mutual arrangement where Rare had full control of Diddy Kong, while Nintendo could do with Donkey Kong what they wanted. And it wasn't until Rare was sold to Microsoft that kind of gentleman's agreement ended, and Nintendo felt free to use Diddy Kong on their own. But we'll get into that whole history. He is my personal favorite video game character, full stop. Right before we went to air, you asked me if he was my favorite fictional character. And I'm not quite sure, because that question has never been posed to me. Video games, sure, yeah. My favorite video game character, but it's my favorite character, like, in all of literature and film and TV.
I mean, obviously, substance-wise, no. But, I mean, as far as connection-wise to you personally, I was wondering.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, substance-wise, anything I could really read deep into is basically bullshitted by me anyway. But as far as, like, the connection and the amount of affection I have for the character... Yeah, maybe. Like, that's really weird. Like, I had never even considered that, but yeah, no other fictional character really makes me as happy as I am when I see Diddy Kong. Like, that's just... And granted, I don't see Diddy Kong much, unfortunately, so it's more of a treat when I do. Like, I'm a Batman fan, to bring up Batman again, but it's not really a surprise whenever you see Batman, like, walking through a store. It's like, oh yeah, there's Batman in some boxer shorts. Woo, Batman. Yeah. But yeah, if I saw some Diddy Kong on a pair of like crotchless panties, I'd buy all of them off the rack.
sure you would. I'm sure you would.
And I wouldn't do anything perverse with them. DKBand.com/RedTube. But, you know, I was around the age that Diddy Kong was, as he was portrayed when Donkey Kong Country first came out. And the thing about Diddy that I really liked is, unlike other shithole little kid characters like Batman's Robin or Captain America's Bucky.
How's Robin a shithole?
Well, because Robin's always good at things that a kid his age should not be good at. He was an amazing athlete. He was, you know...
He was like an acrobat at the circus.
Yeah, but there was no circus anymore. Like, the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey just closed down for the final time. So, Robin's origin is going to be out of date within, a decade.
Just say he's a gymnast or something.
Yeah, okay.
And then Batman trained him after that, right?
But what I'm saying is, when you're a kid, you like characters like Batman because you think, when I'm an adult, I can become as badass as Batman.
It's funny, the executives seem to always shoehorn in a kid character into things, thinking that kids will relate to the kid, like young Anakin or something. But really, I usually relate to, I don't know, Darth Maul or something.
Well, that's you. I was going to say Han Solo, but okay.
He wasn't in that movie.
No. I know. Well, Jar Jar then. But
yeah.
No,
naturally.
And like in the 1940s, when all these kid sidekick characters were introduced, like, yeah, comic book sales saw massive spikes when they introduced kid sidekicks. But I would argue in the modern age, all that does is make kids feel inferior. Oh, there's this amazing kid who is better than me in every way. You can't like strive to be him because he's already eclipsed you, but you can still strive to be the adult heroes. And whenever I played Batman, on the playground, I can't remember any of my friends ever picking to be Robin, or if they were, they didn't, like, that was basically because they lost the rock, paper, scissors. They got the short, straw. And my point is, like, you'd have these kid heroes who always made you feel like crap. And then Diddy always felt like a real kid to me.
But there's one kid hero that Diddy was based on, who's pretty cool.
Short Round, right.
Yeah.
And Short Round I never had a problem with either. And I think part of that is because Short Round wasn't exceptionally good at anything. He was just kind of brought in under Indiana Jones' wing, and he was like there along for the ride. He was street smart, but he wasn't like this genius who was capable of amazing acrobatic feats. And
dude, what if in the next Indiana Jones he meets old Short Round?
I wanted that,
like the guy from the Walking Dead or something.
Oh, God. Or they could just get the actual actor who played him, who was in The Goonies and Temple of Doom. But no, I wanted that in the fourth Indiana Jones movie, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. It bugged me that they completely ignored Short Round. They're like, oh, we need to give Indiana Jones a family. And I'm like, he has a family. He's got Short Round. That's his kid.
That's his son.
But yeah, Short Round and Diddy Kong, they feel like real kids who just happen to be in fantastic situations. Diddy also had a leg up because he was a monkey, so any amazing feats he could pull off was just inherently because of his monkeydom. He could do cartwheels and he could jump off ledges and swing on vines. So you never really felt envious.
So could Mutt.
Right, but Diddy doesn't have a punchable face, so that's another plus for him and Short Round. So in a sense, like, Diddy was my surrogate to explore the jungle, go spelunking in a cave, or board a pirate ship. And the cool thing about Diddy is, during the course of Rare's tenure with the series, he went on these Joseph Campbell-esque heroes quests, and you felt like you were growing up right alongside him. And some people on the DK Vine forum over the years have criticized my take on this. They say I'm projecting way too much into Diddy's story, but no, that was his story.
That's your right, though.
Well, yeah, sure, it's my right, but that was his story, too. I mean, you look back at Donkey Kong Country and Donkey Kong Country 2, that was what Diddy was. That was the arc he was on. You weren't collecting those heroes coins, Well, I mean, they were there just to add an extra collectible, sure, but the purpose was because Cranky was judging you as a legitimate video game hero. So there was
it was very meta.
There was this cool story arc for Diddy Kong that let him transcend from sidekick to full-fledged hero, and it felt like, as I entered my teenage years, I got to, go through that with Diddy, except in a much more painful and humiliating way in the form of junior high school. So, I would have much rather, had to face...
What happened, Hyle? What happened? You always talk about it so awfully. What happened?
Junior high is awful because you're at your most awkward because you're going through puberty. You're tripping over your own 2 feet. You're not, self-assured. All of a sudden, all of these alpha male dickhole kids, all of a sudden, they think they're adults and they're imbued with all this confidence while you have none. And you're out.
Speak for yourself, dude. I was never more. I got so much tail, dude. So much tail.
You legitimately just got tail. You assaulted farm animals.
No, I'm just talking about Diddy Kong. I bought a lot of games with him.
Oh, okay, yeah.
No, but I agree. Middle school is Guantanamo Bay level.
The thing is, I don't think that's an exaggeration. It really did feel like a detention center for gawky tweens. And the worst thing,
high school was a big improvement.
Oh yeah, absolutely. High school was like night and day compared to junior high. The worst thing about junior high is they strip away all of the safe spaces of elementary school. I hate to use that term, but it was basically, all the indulgences of childhood are taken away from you. You're put in this sterile, ugly environment, and the
multiple classrooms having to that freaked me out. Like, I was like, wait, we don't have all our classes in one room anymore?
Well, I don't know
if that was how it was for you.
I don't know about you, but middle school, junior high, whatever you call it, we were in the most run-down school. Like, the elementary school and the high school were both relatively new, and the middle school is just the dilapidated, like, old high school where they stuck us. And it was just run down, and the air conditioning barely worked, and it was just miserable. And it was just like, okay, you're not a cute little kid anymore, but you're also not an almost adult, so fuck you.
I went to a school for special kids, and we had this principal. He was bald, and he was in a wheelchair. He was a pretty nice guy, but he was always kind of, I don't know, I felt like he knew what I was thinking all the time. It was a pretty cool place. Yep, Batman.
Batman was in a wheelchair after Nightfall when Bane broke his back.
That's true. But I also remember like having a panic attack thinking about having a locker. Like having to remember my locker combination. I was like, I have to remember this thing?
Oh, yeah. And that's why I basically didn't use my locker.
Yeah, I never used my locker.
And that's why I have back problems to this day.
Oh, yeah, I had such a huge backpack.
Yeah. My wife has to crack my back every night, and it
oh, no.
Yeah.
That's a euphemism, right?
No, I'm like, baby, I need it. Just give it to me. And then
Does she walk on your back? That'd be cool.
No. She has to use her elbows and forearms to crack it, because that's like the best way for her to apply pressure to it.
That's sweet, though, in a weird way. That's what wives are for.
It's either that or
any spouse.
It's either that or throwing myself down the stairs, because that I have done that, resorted to that too. But no, Donkey Kong Country 2 came out my 6th grade year, which for me was my first year of junior high. So in a lot of ways, Diddy was my companion during this really difficult time of my life, where you feel like childhood is being taken away from you, and you're not really sure you want it to be. And Diddy kind of, viewing what was happening to me through the prism of his adventure kind of gave me the courage to face each day in a weird, pathetic kind of way. But
Diddy was not my hero in middle school, but I can so relate. Like, just having these, I don't know, semi-childish interests that you cling to, and like, I could just see like a bully coming up to you and being like, "Why do you always have pictures of that stupid monkey, huh? Think you're a monkey, kid?"
I hit it. I hit it completely. Like, I would have never broadcasted my love for Donkey Kong Country in 6th grade. Luckily, I was never like physically abused. It was all just like kind of emotional bullying. But
yeah, I was in a class of only 5 people for 6th grade, only 5 people in the whole class, and they were all girls. And it was just constant bullying, like girl bullying, which is the worst kind.
Yeah, the girls were kind of mean too. I remember in 6th grade, everybody was mean.
It was a very interesting experience.
You compare that to today, where as I'm recording this, I'm wearing my Diddy Kong shirt from Fangamer, my Simian Sidekick shirt.
Hell yeah!
I broadcast my love for the character now. I don't give a shit. I'm a happily married man, and I'm an adult, and I don't have to fear bullies anymore. So, yeah. But that's, I mean, probably in a nutshell, why he's my favorite video game character. It doesn't help that monkeys have always been my favorite animal, like growing up, and Diddy was a monkey, and he was a monkey I could relate to. And just out of curiosity, Nick, who is your favorite video game character of all time?
That's a good one. I gotta say Rayman, I think.
Okay. Why?
Why? Like early classic Rayman.
Why does he
just
speak
instills,
to you?
Rayman 1 and 2 were kind of the games I really connected with artistically as a kid. I thought it was so bizarre that, in this world of, I love Mario and Sonic and all that stuff, but then there's this guy that has no limbs, and it's like, what the fuck is he? He looks like a big-nosed dog. Are those his ears, or is that his hair? And then his face and charisma in the games, you never really get to know his character, but it's pretty much like Diddy, where you know just enough that you can kind of fill in the blanks. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, it sounds cheesy, but I mean, I'm on a podcast with a guy who just said he looked up to Diddy Kong, so I'm not afraid to.
I didn't look up to him.
Cheesy,
I saw him as a contemporary.
That's what I mean. And I saw myself in Rayman. Because he's sort of this everyman who's like, he's sort of lazy and chill like DK, but he's always up for an adventure. I don't know, wants to save his friends. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Rayman since then I has kind of become something else. I just mean like the Rayman of 1 and 2. Something really special about that character. There's tons of other great video game characters that I love. I love Big Snake from the Metal Gear Solid series. Especially Big Boss. I don't know if you played those games, but
no, I can't say I have. My video game knowledge is sadly lacking. I'm an expert in one very insular field, and outside of that, who's your favorite Donkey Kong Universe character? Just to bring it down to my level,
the Sand Eels.
Who's your favorite singular Donkey Kong Universe character?
That's a good one. I like Mumbo quite a bit.
Yeah.
I like everything in Grabbed by the Ghoulies, almost like as one entity. Sort of. And then as far as Donkey Kong games, I love just all the weird Kremlings and that kind of stuff. I don't know. I kind of like the zanier characters, but
yeah, because that fits with you and your personality and your art. And
I like Mumbo is really cool. He's a unique creation.
I was debating on whether to do this episode about Mumbo, if we should do a character witness Mumbo episode because, the debate on healthcare right now. And I was just thinking about, it would be nice if we all just had a shaman who could perform spells on us. And ultimately I decided Mumbo can wait, especially since next year is Banjo-Kazooie's 20th. So, maybe we'll get some Banjo-Kazooie.
# Mumbo can wait.
So I want to get into his actual...
but don't get me wrong. I love Diddy Kong, especially since... rediscovering DK Vine and embracing the Donkey Kong Country games way more than I ever did. Because I never owned them. I was more into the land games and other rare stuff. I know, that's a weird thing.
Hey, he was in 2 out of the 3 land games, so...
The first land game especially is what I liked. But it was just out of circumstance. If I owned the Donkey Kong Country games, I would have been right there with you. Diddy Kong would have been my middle school icon. But now he's a later in life icon.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Donkey Kong Land being your favorite because I could see that considering how weird that game could be in comparison to Rare's other Donkey Kong games. Just there was...
Yeah, I don't know if I was so self-consciously weird as a person, or I didn't seek out absurd things yet. It just sort of happened, but yeah, coincidence.
So I want to get into his fictional biography. Not fictional biography. I mean, his real life biography, because let's just assume Diddy Kong is a real person, for the sake of this episode. I have a call, from a caller who, that's where calls come from callers, but, wants to elaborate on their take on Diddy Kong's life story. So I thought we would play that first before actually getting into, my understanding of Diddy Kong's biography. So here we go.
Let's do it.
I interrupt this conversation to bring you The History of Diddy Kong, starring Diddy, the pistol-packing Kong, abandoned as an infant. He was found by Donkey Kong, who lives on DK Isles with his grandpa, Cranky Kong. But scaly shenanigans and Kong nappings happen on DK Isles. It's up to Diddy and Dixie to save his best pal, then get captured and saved by a baby and Dixie, then return with guitars and pistols or something. And then, I don't know, Smash Bros., Payon, Retro, some bongo cameos on occasion. So I guess that might be the history of Diddy Kong without lots of behind-the-scenes rare subtext within some kind of intro of some sort. But anyways, that's it. That's all I've got. This has been Banjo-Kazooie 2000, up, over, under, and out. And also, by the way, does my 150-call string restart here because it's a new line, or does it continue from the old one? I don't know. Cheers, guys.
I would argue Banjo-Kazooie 2000 shouldn't be 3000.
Engage?
Yeah, engage. I think you should be 3000 because you're just looking to the past if you're 2000. No, I think because it's a new hotline, it's either or. You can choose to view it as a fresh start, or it is still the DK Vine hotline. We just changed the actual number, so it's up to you. But anyway, it's an interesting take on Diddy's life story. I disagree with some of it, but we'll get into that in our take. I don't think he was abandoned as an infant. I think he has parents, and they're actually alluded to a few times in Diddy's backstory. So his prehistory, we know little about Diddy's life before Donkey Kong Country, but as I just mentioned, his parents, they're always unseen, but they are briefly referenced in the Diddy Kong Racing storyline, because when he was young, he was childhood friends with Timber the Tiger from Timber's Island, and his parents and Timber's parents, they would get together and visit each other during holidays and summer trips and whatnot. So even though Diddy's parents are always unseen, they do have a small presence felt in the series itself. They're these not great unseen characters because there's not really nothing to them, but I like when we have characters we know exist, but we don't know anything about them, so it's just kind of left for us to imagine what they would be like. I always pictured gotcha. Diddy's father to be a monkey in a suit or something. I pictured him a businessman with a little briefcase, kind of like
Commuter Kong?
Kind of like Commuter Kong, except Commuter Kong was basically nude and he had a hat, and we just went from there and said, oh, he's a businessman. I don't know how the fan base collectively all thought, yeah, that guy looks like a businessman, even though he's just balls out and everything, but okay, he's a businessman Kong. How many Kongs actually wear pants anyway? You got Swanky Kong.
So it begs the question, is that just a fashion statement Swanky's making, or should they all be wearing pants and they're all perverse?
Oh, I think it's just a fashion statement. I think for whatever reason in Kong society, the expectations are you wear some article of clothing. But for whatever reason, it's the most rare article of clothing are the ones that cover your genitalia. It's extremely liberated society when you think about it. Although, since, if you have copious amounts of fur down there, maybe you just feel like it hides it well enough.
Perhaps.
I don't really know. But yeah, Diddy goes balls out too. So good for him. But anyway, yeah. Diddy's parents, of course, Tip Tup's parents. We just know of his father's ejaculate, and that's about it. Some other characters, I guess, would...
Hey, that's not a nice thing to call Tip Tup.
I was referring to all of Tip Tup's failed brothers and sisters and never quite made it in the vaginal canal.
In the Tip Tup suite.
The stains of promise.
How sweet it is to be loved by you.
And a little bit salty. We know like he had that friendship with Timber, and he grew up worshiping Donkey Kong, who we're going to presume for the sake of the integrity of the backstory that he is
a deity.
Well, yes, but he's also Donkey Kong Jr. Because I don't think Diddy's backstory works if the modern Donkey Kong isn't Donkey Kong Jr. If he didn't have this kind of glory as a very young child, rescuing his father from Mario. And so just for the sake of the rest of the episode, let's just assume the traditional DK Vine stance that modern Donkey Kong is an adult Donkey Kong Jr. But Diddy grew up worshiping him, just really looking up to him. He was basically his idol. And he wanted to be a video game hero one day, just like Donkey Kong, which is really the meta element of Rare's tenure with this series. Because I feel like a lot of traditional Nintendo fans probably have a hard time wrapping their head around that there was this kind of fourth wall breaking story that was kind of crucial to the characters. That, yeah, they live on Donkey Kong Island and all of this, but they also kind of understand that we're just video game characters, even though that's not really essential to the core of the plot. It's essential to the characters themselves. It's this real weird, like, contradictory kind of tightrope walk that Rare walked that I love, even though I don't try to like obsess over it myself, because I feel like it's really not that important to like really worry about. Wait, if they know they're video game characters, is it like a situation where they're in the Matrix, or like how far does this? No, you just kind of have to shrug it off and be like, yeah, whatever. You could even,
it's like absurdist humor, right? It's like you're not really supposed to logically break it down. You're just supposed to enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, you could even just in your head like delete all references to video games and just have it be hero. It's the same thing. But at some point, Diddy set out to meet his icon, and we don't really know how they first met, and it's never really elaborated on, but we do know that...
maybe it was like a Make-A-Wish thing, like Diddy faked having cancer just so he could meet him.
Well, that's some tenacity on Diddy's part to go through that ruse. I don't even know what a cancer-ridden Kong would look like. Because I mean, would all this fur fall out? Would he just be this like?
That's sad.
It's sad. I mean, Diddy, because the thing about the Kongs is the males just have fur on the top of their head, while the females, for whatever reason, have luxurious human heads of hair.
Those are wigs, you know it.
Or they style their fur to look like human hair. Yeah. It's just the fashion trend on Donkey Kong Island. But it also extends to like the bears too, because you look at Tootie in comparison to Banjo, and Tootie's got blonde pigtails, and Banjo just has fur on the top of his head.
This is true.
Or hell, Conker and Barry too. But it's a really weird design choice. Rare. Whenever Rare needed to signify this character is a girl, they always went for the head of hair.
I'm sure. Pretty sure there was like a Anita Sarkeesian video about that. How every girl video game character, like Miss Pac-Man, is just you take the original male character and just put hair and lips on.
Oh yeah, look. I know she's spoken out against Dixie Kong, which I feel like
that's misguided. That's like Dixie Kong's a super like feminist character.
In principle, I support what she stands for, but I think sometimes you can miss the forest for the trees, and Dixie Kong is definitely a super feminist character, in my opinion. Granted, I'm a man, so what do I know? But I feel like Dixie Kong is definitely a positive role model. But this isn't about Dixie Kong. Well, it will be a little bit, but it's mostly about Diddy Kong. But yeah, somehow he met his icon Donkey Kong, which, I mean, I suppose it's easy when you live in the same jungle. Presumably Diddy's just a few jungle blocks away, and
he probably just was walking through the jungle, and then he saw DKP on a tree. He's like, "Hey, you're my hero," and he's like, "Oh, a little privacy here, bud." And that's how they met.
Or maybe Diddy would just like time his routine so he'd always cross paths with Donkey Kong, like a stalker would, you know?
Yeah. It happened enough times where he'd be like, "Oh, that's you again.
Mm-hmm.
Want to be my son?"
I think you mean nephew.
Well, you know, it's a father-son dynamic at least.
Or
Or is it a big brother dynamic?
I think it's a big brother dynamic. I never really saw.
Yeah.
For one thing, I don't see Donkey Kong, the modern Donkey Kong, as a fatherly type at all because I feel like he's too much of a deadbeat. But I think he's definitely got.
Can you imagine him giving Diddy the talk? Well, you see, Candy and I, when we play our instruments.
No, see,
that is to say,
I would imagine he would use bananas, a lot of bananas, as the
and coconuts.
Yeah. So let me show you how to put a peel on a banana, Diddy. So somehow he met Donkey Kong, and the way the Donkey Kong Country instruction manual kind of portrays it is when their relationship was just starting out, Donkey Kong just kind of humored him and treated his adulation of him as kind of a joke. And by doing that, he would just give him, like, he didn't take the whole, I want to be a video game hero thing seriously. And so he just gave him thankless tasks like, okay, you're guarding my banana horde in the middle of the night. And just stuff that Donkey Kong...
It's like, what's his name? Incrediboy or whatever from The Incredibles?
Can I be upfront with you, Nick, about something?
Uh-oh, don't say it. Don't say it.
I've never seen The Incredibles.
Don't. That's okay. It's overrated. It's
the thing is, like,
it's a Watchmen / Fantastic Four ripoff with good characters.
Yeah, I don't know. Like Pixar, I'll catch some Pixar movies every now and then, but for the most part,
wow, never seen it though. It never crossed your path in any situation.
No, and that's the thing. Like, I don't really seek out. The only Pixar movie I saw in theaters was WALL-E, and I cried during it. And I don't like crying during movies. I think I've talked about this before, but
don't like it.
No,
that's the whole point.
No, I don't want to
get that stuff out there.
I don't want to be vulnerable in a movie theater. I don't want to weep. I don't want fluids coming out of me in a theater. That's what Pee Wee Herman was arrested for.
Don't keep it pent up, Hyle. You gotta let it out.
So the only time I see Pixar movies are like when, like, my wife, like, she made me watch Finding Nemo for the first time.
Made you watch?
No. It was like, we should watch Finding Nemo, and I was like, okay, I'll watch Finding Nemo. I enjoyed
Finding Nemo's the only Pixar movie more overrated than Incredibles.
I enjoyed Finding Nemo. I enjoyed it. It didn't make me cry.
It has its good points.
It didn't make me cry. I was strong enough for Finding Nemo. I think WALL-E just struck me at a very dark time in my life, and I was just like, that little robot found love, but I can't.
Peter Gabriel.
No, usually it's Phil Collins who makes me cry.
I'll be in your heart.
But I don't care anymore about that.
Oh, you must have loved the Tarzan movie with all the monkeys.
That's another one my wife wants me to watch. And
you haven't seen that one?
No, I haven't. I remember when that movie came out being pissed off that the gorilla had the Donkey Kong Cadillac. And I was just like, fucking plagiarist.
Oh, Rosie O'Donnell's character? Yeah.
Is that a joke, or was Rosie O'Donnell actually in the movie?
She's that character.
Oh, I thought you were just making a Rosie O'Donnell's a fat, hairy ape joke, like Donald Trump would make on Twitter.
I'm a feminist.
Like our president would make on Twitter. I
kidding.
thought you were just being presidential, Nick.
Well, no. There's a time and place for everything, and the bedroom is where I'm presidential. But no, yeah, she did play the...
when you're famous, they just let you do it. No, but the relationship between Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong is something that grew over the course of the Donkey Kong series. Because when Donkey...
Like a fine wine.
Like a fine wine. It aged like cheese dipped in fine wine. It just got better. Like cheese soaking in wine. Is that a thing? You think... Why don't people do that? Why don't they just throw a hunk of cheese in wine and just wait for the magic? So when Donkey Kong Country first came out... Funky Kong was portrayed, even listed as Donkey Kong's best friend. And Diddy was just this little wannabe hanger-on that, looked up to Donkey Kong but wasn't really, on his level. And Donkey Kong didn't really treat him that seriously.
How do you think Funky Kong felt when Diddy kind of became the real best friend?
I think he was too high to care, and he just decided to get even with him by stealing Candy Kong. So, tit for tat, and then another tit as well. Yeah, but by the end of Rare's tenure with the series, which we'll say was 2002, even though 1999 was the last fully original game. 2000 was Donkey Kong Country Game Boy Color. But Donkey and Diddy were indisputably partners and best buds. So I really like how their relationship kind of grew. And not always in positive ways, too, because they kind of became pricks at certain points in Rare's tenure, the closer they got. Yeah. But let's start with Donkey Kong Country. And this is just going to be, obviously we all know the stories of these games. This isn't really obscure games we're talking about here. These are the building blocks of Rare Shared Universe. But we're talking just primarily from Diddy's point of view. So, Donkey Kong Country starts off, Diddy was attacked by the Kremlins while on Banana Horde guard duty. And that set in motion the plot of the game and kicked off the entire series. And in Donkey Kong Country, Diddy was portrayed as, unsure and a little skittish. But as you mentioned, he also had clear inspiration from Short Round, from off of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. So he had this kind of can-do scrappiness to him. And people compare him to Scrappy Doo all the time, which I don't really see.
Fuck that.
I don't get that
Diddy
at all.
never became a villain.
That's true, yeah. I don't really get that. Besides, Donkey Kong having a Scooby-Doo-esque voice nowadays, Diddy was never really a Scrappy Doo-esque character. He was... I think the important thing is making him a monkey and not a gorilla really helped set Diddy apart. He wasn't just a little clone of Donkey Kong. He might look up to Donkey Kong in the early games of the series, but he kind of became his own entity over the course.
Ronky wrong.
Oh, God. As much as the Scooby-Doo voice has grown on me over the years, it's still a pale comparison to Grant Kirkhope's take on it, which is always going to be my favorite.
Like Scoob's, Grant Kirkhope's voice is way better, man.
And granted, the Donkey Kong Scooby-Doo voice hasn't blocked DK Byte on Twitter, so you know how much I love Grant's take on it.
We love you, Grant.
We love you, Grant. Unblock us, please. Unblock us, please.
Wasn't it?
I also want to talk about the fashion of Diddy Kong while we're going through his history. We're not going to be talking about pants, though. Don't worry. So, in the original Donkey Kong Country, Diddy wore all red. Just straight red.
Interestingly.
An all-red baseball cap and an all-red sleeveless shirt. And he also had large black pupils for his eyes.
He was a blood.
This would be his standard look in-game for the next 3 years. And it's funny how much, people don't realize that when Donkey Kong Country came out, Donkey Kong didn't have DK on his tie, and Diddy didn't have, his insignias. Yeah, so... technically,
the shirt you're wearing is poser, is blasphemy. That's not canon.
Well, also, the shirt I'm wearing has sleeves. I'm not wearing a wife beater, so...
You make up for it in actually beating your wife.
Oh, that's not true.
Hey, she beats your back into position, is all I mean.
Oh, right. She beats me, right. Yeah. We're very progressive.
Yeah.
Angry Orchard. You'll beat your spouse. Donkey Kong Country Game Boy Advance, which takes place concurrently to the events of the Super Nintendo original. Diddy goes on a hero mode, a solo adventure sans Donkey Kong, after the events of the game. After they beat K. Rool, Donkey and Diddy, then for whatever reason, K. Rool steals the Banana Horde immediately again when they're not looking. And Diddy
I didn't know this, actually.
Yeah. Diddy goes out by himself.
I never beat the GBA version of 1, I don't think. I thought I did. Maybe not.
It's basically a hard mode, where you don't have Donkey Kong, you just have Diddy, and you have to go through the whole game again, beating Kara. It's called Hero Mode. And in Hero Mode, which we do view as canon, he wears an all-yellow cap and shirt. One of the few times he ever broke with the red look in the games. Of course, depending on your stance of the two-player contest canonicity, then maybe not the first time. But
I think he was just so excited to have Hero Mode that he pissed all over himself.
The first Donkey Kong Country game, he's basically just the the little scrappy sidekick who can, and he's got, you know, the hustle. He's got that the moxie of some.
But no connections to Scrappy
No,
Doo allowed.
no, of course not. But he's the little monkey who can. You know, he's out of his element. He's in over his head, but he perseveres, and he doesn't prove himself as a video game hero, but he proves himself, and I think as like a worthy partner to Donkey Kong, and I think he earns Donkey Kong's respect. This is where he and Donkey Kong kind of have a bonding moment, you know. And this continues in Donkey Kong Land, where they have to retrieve the Banana Horde again, but this time on Game Boy, per the request of Cranky Kong. And there's not much to say about Diddy's characterization in Donkey Kong Land, because, I mean, it's basically him doing more of the same, but it's interesting in a story that Cranky is definitely a bit jealous of not only Donkey Kong's success, but also Diddy's. Diddy's kind of more of a renowned figure now, even though he's just a video game sidekick still. Donkey Kong Land was just kind of this middle ground between the first SNES game and the second. No offense, because I know it's your favorite Donkey Kong game of all time.
Favorite. It's not, actually. It's just the first one.
Barrel Maze is your favorite. I'm sorry, Nick. I'm sorry.
Yes, please. Please. I mean, respect where respect is due.
Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Kong Quest, which we know from Donkey Kong, the most hilarious Donkey Kong jokes, is actually a pun. And a lot of people don't realize the pun. And it's funny that it takes them a long time to realize the pun. And they go, what? What?
Yeah,
what?
That was pretty funny. Whoever wrote that book was really genius to come up with that observation all on their own.
Yeah, and not stolen from any webcomic.
Yeah.
So before we talk about the events of DKC 2, it's worth pointing out that at some point between Donkey Kong Land and Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy got himself a girlfriend.
Diddy got some tail.
Or he got some tuck tail up a pink shirt. If you accept that Dixie Kong is a monkey, DK Vine's stance is she tucks that tail as to not interfere with her ponytail.
Now, have we ever gotten a direct explanation for why she doesn't have a tail?
I mean, it's a design thing. It would clash with her ponytail. I mean, clearly, you don't want to have too much jumble in the back. Don't want to have all that junk in the trunk, you know?
That's a good point.
Some people have argued that Dixie Kong is a chimpanzee, which, no. She's a monkey. She could be a monkey without a tail, because I think there are certain types of monkeys that are like genetically don't have tails, but for me it's just fun to imagine she's got a tail, and it's just like taped.
I like to imagine she's the missing link.
She's the hero of time or of wind, or
no, like between man and ape.
Oh well, I'm waiting for that to be the big reveal in the Zelda series, that Link is actually the ancestor of Sasquatch.
Well, there's gonna be a Mario's Missing style Zelda called Link is Missing. It's all about the missing link.
I was hoping that was how Breath of the Wild ended. And granted, I haven't beaten it or played it because I don't have a Switch.
You haven't seen the ending? It's crazy, dude. Darwin, Richard Dawkins is the final boss. It's
really
crazy.
Wow. So he's actually fighting against the theory of evolution. Link is a creationist.
Essentially, it's more nuanced than that. But you'll see.
It ends with him and Zelda going to the creationist museum. Where they learn that Jesus rode on a dinosaur.
The final dungeon is Noah's Ark, and all the puzzles were put there to test Link's faith.
This is why the timeline is so confusing, because you would think Noah's Ark, it would take place after Wind Waker.
You would think.
So anyway, yeah, Diddy met Dixie Kong, and we don't really know how they met. It's just explained in the instructions.
Probably some sort of meet cute.
Never say that word on this show ever again.
Meet cute.
I despise the phrase meet cute. Good Lord! All right.
Meet cute.
Stop it!
It would take a lot to make a piece of meat cute.
I don't know. Yeah, as a vegetarian, it doesn't appeal to me. But I'm sure, for all you
put some lipstick and human hair on it.
If nothing makes meat more appetizing than human hair.
Yeah.
Kind of just explained in the Donkey Kong Country 2 story that Cranky just kind of says, "Oh, Diddy's been hanging around that girlfriend of his or whatever."
She's a bad influence.
We don't really know how they met, but the relationship between Diddy and Dixie, in my opinion, is pretty much perfect. We presume they have a romantic relationship. It's basically like Nintendo's copped to it by this point. I know they kind of were ambiguous about it for a while, but we know they're boyfriend.
There's literally no evidence of the romance side of it, but
I mean, they're just referred to as boyfriend and girlfriend from time to time. But that's what I like about it. It's like that's never the focus. Romance is never the focus of it. Dixie is never a damsel in distress that Diddy has to save, and a lot of times she's portrayed as more competent than Diddy. But neither character's integrity is ever sacrificed to build up the other one. They're kind of just...
She's more fun to play as, I know that.
Well, yeah, and she's portrayed as kind of more of a reckless adventure. She likes adventure even more than Diddy, and she's more willing to thrust herself into it, while Diddy is a little bit more... Well, Diddy can be, cocksure and confident, especially in his...
Okay, you just said thrusting and cocksure in the same breath.
I'm just doing it to turn you on, Nick. I'm just giving you trigger words to kind of get you at least halfway erect.
You're making my meat cute.
How much hair is on it, Nick? That's what I want to know.
Full wig, baby.
Oh, come on, man. It's 2017. You got to manscape a little bit.
Nah, I'm murking it up.
Yo, you wear a merkin. That's a bold choice. If we're to theorize that Diddy was a Make-A-Wish participant,
fraud,
maybe he's wearing nothing but merkins.
Maybe.
Yeah.
He's a little puby monkey.
Mm-hmm. I believe that is the term for the kind of monkey he is. Because there's never...
In the original instruction manual, it said DK, the hero of the jungle. Then the next one, Diddy, a little puby monkey.
People always try to pin down what kind of monkey Diddy is, and I don't think it's something you can do, because I don't think it really corresponds with any really monkey. I've heard spider monkey reference from time, and I was like, he's not a spider monkey. He doesn't look anything.
He doesn't look like
monkey.
one.
But yeah, Diddy and Dixie, they kind of make a great pair, and I like their relationship in that they just gel well together as a character duo, and they complement each other well. But
John Lovitz agrees.
Yeah, he does.
Diddy and Dixie.
Mario and Yoshi. Apparently, he thought that they had quite a torrid affair. Torrid affair as well. Which, Yoshi met Mario when he was a baby, so that's quite inappropriate.
Should be Yoshi and Birdo.
Yeah, that was before Yoshi and Birdo were paired together.
We know Yoshi is very progressive if he's with Birdo.
Good for him.
Yeah,
it's all the same in the dark, right?
Well, not really. But
well, I mean, as far as blowjobs go,
I don't know. Let's get deeper into this topic.
I just imagine Birdo is a fellatio machine.
You'd think so, but there's actually these teeth in there that are all gnarled.
Oh.
Rips your shit up.
Oh. Well, as I mentioned on the show before, I like some teeth action.
You have said that every episode.
Not every episode. But I have brought it up before, yes. Anyway, Donkey Kong Country 2. Donkey Kong is kidnapped. We all know the story. And the other Kongs, though, it's interesting. They all seem content to just throw in the towel and basically just give up the banana horde.
Well, R.I.P. DK.
No. They wanted him back. But they were like, all right, we'll just have to hand over the banana horde. I mean, what else can we do? And
we'll have to make pineapples our thing from now on.
It's like that episode of The Simpsons. Yes, I'm going to reference The Simpsons, even though I'm not Chad, where they had the lemon tree, and they it was the prune tree or something, and or was it beets or turnips? It was turnips. After the lemon tree was stole, they made turnip juice, and they Shelbyville, and they tried to make the best out of the turnip juice.
That reference is about as good as any of mine. It's going way over my head.
So The Simpsons is your your pop culture desert.
Blind spot.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be. I really need to rectify that. I've seen some episodes, but I know almost every character's name.
I feel like The Simpsons at this point, it's if you haven't seen the classic seasons, it's one of those things where you've been exposed to it enough in pop culture that you've got the basics. Even though you are depriving yourself of some like great like classic comedy
jokes.
I think you've probably like you're aware of so many of the jokes at this point that is it even really worth checking out? Yeah,
possibly.
It probably is. But the thing is,
it's fun. I could tell you like every character's connection to each other and what their whole shtick is, but I couldn't tell you like storylines. Really.
Yeah, and again, it's basically seasons 3 through 8 that you need to check out, and then everything else.
Maybe I will.
Yeah, maybe you will.
Now Futurama, I've seen most of it.
Oh, Futurama's great. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, the Kongs are like, what are we gonna do? Like they didn't have any faith that Diddy could go out and get him back, and Diddy kind of vowed to prove himself once and for all and rescue his mentor, Donkey Kong. And of course, Dixie came along, and because, Dixie was probably like, oh shit, yeah, I've been dating this guy for 2 months and we haven't gone on an adventure yet. I'm just about to leave him. This is what I signed up for. This is why I'm dating this guy in the first place. So Donkey Kong Country 2 is the partial culmination of Diddy's arc from the first 2 games, Donkey Kong Country and Donkey Kong Land.
No, it's Noah's Ark.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. No longer the sidekick. He had to prove himself as a legitimate video game hero. And not just compared to Donkey Kong, or, not just to prove himself to Cranky, but he actually had to do it against other Nintendo icons like Mario, Link, and Yoshi, because it was 1995 and Yoshi was one of the big ones, or considered one of the big ones.
Yoshi!
Yoshi's stock has fallen so far compared to where he was in 95. And granted, so has Diddy's, but, if it was today, it would be Mario, Link, and I don't know, a Fire Emblem character, Marth, or it would be Mamie Samus above Yoshi, or
a me.
It might, maybe not. I mean, yeah, maybe a me, but it's doubtful. Probably Kirby, honestly. What's interesting about the plot of DKC 2 is that by rescuing Donkey Kong and getting all 40 hero coins, Diddy not only proves himself to be a video game hero, but he technically proves himself to be more adept at being a video game hero than Mario himself, because Mario only got 39 hero coins. Now, it could be like standardized testing, and it's just inherently racist towards Italian Americans, but I think that is canonical proof that Diddy Kong is a better hero than Mario.
You heard it here first, folks.
And
well, actually, that's far from the first time you've said that.
But it's also the only place you'll ever hear that too. So.
Yeah.
Of course, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about while Diddy and Dixie, traversed Crocodile Isle, but fought Captain K. Rool, they did commit accidental genocide at the end of the game, and they kind of wiped out the Kremlin race. I mean, they didn't wipe it out completely, but it never really recovered after that. And my question, and I wonder this from time to time, does the genocide they committed, even by mistake, does it weigh on Diddy's soul today?
I think it does not. Because he might not even know that's what happened.
Oh, I mean, how could you not know? I mean, the end of the game was him, Dixie, and Donkey Kong sitting on Donkey Kong Island.
We only see him from the back. He might have had his eyes closed.
He was asleep because it was just such an exhausting adventure.
Yeah, it was so tired. And then when he woke up, he was like, "What'd I miss?" And DK was like, nothing, Diddy, nothing at all." It's kind of like Life is Beautiful, except Donkey Kong was like the Roberto Benigni, and he's like kind of trying to help his son.
God, I hate that movie. Oh God, I can't believe that.
I don't know. It had a pretty good meet cute in it.
Life is Beautiful is essentially just a
schlock.
It's schlock, but it's also. Remember the movie The Day the Clown Cried?
The Jerry Lewis one?
Yeah, the Jerry Lewis one that never saw release because it was so ghastly, about the clown in the concentration camp.
It's basically like a misguided attempt at like dealing with like deep subject matter.
Right, and that's the way I view Life is Beautiful. It's just a tamer version of that movie that actually got released, hoodwinked critics for a year, scammed an Oscar out of it, and then people realized,
Hey, it's because of that we got the amazing
Pinocchio,
starring
right?
Roberto Benigni.
Right. And I think it was that post Pinocchio that everybody started reevaluating Life is Beautiful and realized, oh God, what do we do?
Life is shit.
Yeah, this guy has an Oscar. Fuck me.
Hey, he was great in. Have you seen Down by Law?
No, I have not.
He's great in that movie. But yeah, everything else I've seen.
Was
of his
Pixar
is
in
shit.
it? That might explain. Was Pixar in it? Did Pixar make it? Because that might explain why I haven't seen it.
Yes, it starred John Pixar.
Ian Pixar. Yeah. No, but you have to wonder, like, does Diddy have nightmares about? Because I'm sure it was like a very victorious moment for them after battling the Kremlins, going toe to toe with Captain K. Rool. And then
I think he has PTSD about it.
Yeah, because I think initially it would be like celebratory because he was like 12, 13 in Donkey Kong Country 2. And
yeah, he was kind of in denial about it. But then I think he went and saw a therapist, probably like, I don't know, like a talking crane or something. And he probably was like, he unlocked his old memory. He's like, yeah, that was great when we defeated those. Wait a second. What have I done?
I know I've asked you this before. The talking crane is a reference to DKU comics. That wasn't a Frasier reference?
It wasn't. It was an Ichabod Crane reference.
Right, but Frasier Crane was a therapist, so...
It was an accident, total accident.
Okay, because I would have gone with lots of Frasier jokes because I'm a hack.
I should have.
Well, there's still time. We can bring that character back in the future DKU comic.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I know, what's his name? Scraps, Steph was adamant that guy had a secret evil agenda, so maybe he'll come.
Well, you introduce a new character in a mystery, you're naturally going to assume that character is the culprit. It's hacky writing.
He wasn't a
101,
butler.
yeah.
But I didn't give in.
No, but I think, like, this interests me because, at the end of DKC 2, it's celebratory. It's like, oh my God, we just dealt this crippling blow to the Kremlins. Their island is destroyed. We probably killed thousands of them. But then as Diddy got older, as he got, to use the popular vernacular of the time we live in, as Diddy became woke, then I would imagine it would start to really bother him, and he would have nightmares at night and wake up in a cold sweat.
He'd probably pull what most celebrities do, like when they reach a point where they're so rich, like they start getting that guilt, so they start doing charities. Robin Beadland. But, no, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. He's not rich. But I'm kidding. It's a roast here. But no, some celebrities, on Twitter, they'll be like, all of a sudden they're all activists and stuff. I think part of that comes from a little bit of guilt. So I think Diddy probably would be like doing Kremlin charities. Like, he wouldn't be saying why, but everyone would know inside, like, man, he's really feeling guilty.
I would imagine he'd have to, like, disguise himself, though, because he'd have to wear a mustache and a monocle. Well, I'm not Diddy Kong. What are you talking about? That's preposterous.
We must help the Kremlins. Now there's a new story arc for a comic. Charitable Kong.
So yeah, even though I view Diddy as like this great hero, he did accidentally send K. Rool flying to the Kremlin source, causing the almost complete eradication of the Kremlin race. So I
love that. That's just like I wonder if Rare even thought about the repercussions, like what they were.
I don't.
Or did they just think like, oh, it'll be victorious to see the island sink? Maybe everyone evacuated. Maybe it's like a Kevin Smith Death Star analogy.
Well, I mean, K. Rool escaped, but no, I would imagine lots of Kremlins had to have died.
It's a kid's game.
It's a kid's game, but it's also made by Rare, and they weren't afraid to get dark.
True.
Look at Banjo-Tooie, for Christ's sake.
Oh, good point. There's a murder within the first 5 minutes.
And then they have jokes about if they're going to tell the murdered victim's wife.
Love that so much.
Yeah, good Lord. Anyway, fashion update. Diddy still wore all red in this game, although he now had the furry shenanigans, the rendered fur. But the renders still portrayed him.
Wait, really? He had different fur than in the first game?
Yeah, remember in the first Donkey Kong Country, he had the extremely plasticky, like early ACM fur, him and Donkey Kong. And then in Donkey Kong Country 2, they introduced the rendered fur.
I guess I never really thought about that, but that's pretty cool.
But the renders now started portraying him with the stars on his shirt and a Nintendo logo on his cap. The Nintendo,
even though it wasn't in the game like that.
Right, except it did appear on his artwork, like for things like the bonus stages or the game over.
What about the front cover of the game? Does he have it on his shirt? I never.
Yeah.
Okay, I just forgot. But what do you think the reasoning behind adding stuff to his shirt was? Just to make something like to trademark, give him a little trademark type of thing?
I feel like they thought that Diddy Kong's look was too, and Donkey Kong's look by extension was too bland. I felt like they needed
a little too plain Jane Goodall.
Right. I feel like they needed to. They felt like they needed to add some things to make it uniquely his. And it being rare, they thought it cute if they put a Nintendo logo on Diddy's hat and a rare pin on Dixie's beret. And so
I like it.
It took me a while to get used to, because in real time, all of a sudden, 1995, now you're seeing renders with Diddy having stars on his shirt, and you're just like, oh God, what's this? But
it's probably analogous to when they at Rayman 3 they gave him like these little hoodie like tassels on his scarf, and they gave him like spiked, cool, like edgy early 2000s hair, and they made his shoes all like shiny. I was like, I'm not behind this, but unlike that, DKC2 is a great game, so it kind of was easier to accept the change.
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't actually in the game itself, so they were able to slowly walk you towards the change, because it took a while for it to actually be implemented on the actual
and
engagement.
DKC2 didn't have a sudden, utter change in tone and attitude and feature an ad campaign with the hero peeing at a urinal, implying the size of his huge cock.
Oh my God, really?
Yes, they had for Rayman 2 went from this like mysterious like French game with these ethereal characters and stuff and ambiguity to suddenly Rayman 3, it's him at a urinal with all these businessmen, and it says no limbs, huge features, and they're all staring at what is presumed to be his floating dick.
I'm gonna look this up right now, because holy shit.
Look it up right now. It's fucking atrocious, like how much they changed the tone of the series.
The only thing I remember about Rayman print ads was in Nintendo Power scene, like they were advertising one Rayman game with this guy schlub named Ray. I was like, this is Ray.
Yes, that I remember. That was for Rayman 2, which is my favorite game of all time. But those, I can't vouch for those ads. I don't know who came up with that idea, but they're memorable. More memorable than Rayman's dick penis envy at a urinal.
Oh yeah, I'm looking up right now. No arms, no legs, huge features, and they're all just like one thing. Have you ever been at a urinal and all the dudes are just like staring at each other's like wangs? Like, no, that doesn't happen.
But I've never gone to the YMCA, so I don't know. Yeah, no one does that. You do the exact opposite.
Whenever I'm in a public restroom, it's just, oh God, get this over with quick. And
exactly.
I'm a nervous peer, so if I've got too many guys standing near me, I'm just like, oh, this isn't happening until they leave.
Especially if their last name is Wang, you get real nervous.
Yeah, we'll test that theory out at E3 this year.
But yeah, you see what I mean? Like, Rayman's character changes would have been easier to swallow, so to speak, if it wasn't like paired with this obnoxiously different ad campaign, It was kind of just threw me for a loop.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
But yeah, they kept his they kept this new design. I'm just using this as a parallel to the Diddy thing. They kept the new design later, like when they revived it for Legends and Origins, which sort of brought back some of that earlier magic. So now I'm okay with the design, but it's not quite. Diddy's design change was much more acceptable.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be the first time Diddy's design would change, and we're going to be hitting on all those. Donkey Kong Land 2, we don't really have to cover this. For more on that...
Cue the music.
Yeah. For more on Donkey Kong Land 2, see the Spotlight episode from last September. It's basically just, you can interpret the story how you want. DK Vine's interpretation is... K. Rool forces the Kongs to repeat the adventure of Donkey Kong Country 2 on a raised Crocodile Isle that's volatile and unstable. And there's really not much to speak about Diddy's portrayal in the game as far as his character history goes. He has to do it again. And
he's a lot harder to see, I know that.
He's pixely. Yeah, Donkey Kong Land had the really like obnoxious backgrounds that made the characters hard to see. They pared it down in DKL2 quite a bit, which again added to the desolate look of like a post-apocalyptic Crocodile Isle. It really helped sell that concept in your mind. Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble. Not,
Hell yes.
not Nick and I spent 4 episodes talking about it last fall.
Woo.
Woo, we don't really need to broach upon this too much, but at this point, according to the wobbly metatextual narrative of the series, Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong were contemporaries with the whole video game hero thing. They were partners. They were now hanging out as friends and going on vacations together. And they were equally
worthy of abduction as well.
Yeah. So, within 2 years, Diddy is kind of this annoying little kid who looks up to Donkey Kong to being this guy who's vacationing with Donkey Kong. It's like, imagine if you're just suddenly chilling out with your idols and role models.
He's like part of his entourage.
Yeah, or even a level above that, kind of. And it really makes me think. Should I kidnap Paul McCartney? Should I arrange for an abduction where then I rescue him and then he's indebted to me?
That's a good point. It's worth a try. You could become his temporary secretary.
So they check out Funky's new boat rental shop in the Northern Hemisphere. And yada, 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 they become the evil robotic despot Chaos.
Yada, 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 banana bird deity.
Yeah. They get abducted during their sleep by K. Rool. And maybe he drugged their drinks like Bill Cosby, He put some sedatives in the banana pudding, you know what I mean?
That's pretty good. You've improved.
Thank you. Yeah. Well,
I give it 8 out of 10 Rudies.
It's all in the amount of eye wobbling you do.
Yeah, Bill Cosby didn't put roofies; he put Rudies.
No, he actually just dipped the actress in their espressos. It's she just her skin like exuded powerful sedatives.
It's funny that he had such a campaign of telling young black men to pull their pants up because he seemed to like women to take them off.
And he took his off as well. Yeah. I think he just didn't want any competition.
Only I can have my pants off.
He just didn't want any competition. Is really the heart of
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was jealous. He was like, they're showing off their goods.
What a monster. So anyway.
May he burn in hell.
He's still alive.
Oh, yeah.
He's still alive, and he had his
Legally
first
blind.
interview about it the other week, where he blamed inherent racism for all of the rape accusations against him. So,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's logical.
Yeah. So anyway, Donkey Kong Country 3's plot is a bit more complicated than the previous games in the series, what with the banana birds and the mad science and the robots that run off the cerebral brain power of Donkey and Diddy Kong.
Not to mention the fish with clown nose.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and 13 bears, 14 in the Game Boy Advance version.
Oh.
But it's obviously Donkey and Diddy are just kind of dealt with narratively, so Dixie can have her starring moment, and
they become the damsels in distress.
Yeah.
It turns it all on its head.
Well, that's the thing. Like, Dixie is never a damsel in distress in the whole Donkey Kong series. She's never been kidnapped, abducted, or even put behind bars once, minus the ending, the game over screens for Country 2 and Country 3, where she's in a playpen. But non-canon. Anyway, we'll save Dixie discussion for her own character witness. But yeah, it's interesting that, Donkey and Diddy are just kind of inseparable at this point. And that continues into Donkey Kong Land 3, where Donkey and Diddy, this is the only one of the original 6 rare platformers that they don't appear physically in the game at all. But
that's crazy.
Yeah, their presence is still felt in the plot because they go on an unseen adventure to uncover the lost world of the Northern Hemisphere.
Wasn't it already uncovered?
Well, it was down a tube. You're thinking of Krematoa, but the Lost World of the Northern Hemisphere that was just called the Lost World was yet to be discovered, and it was down a tube in a lake. And so there's this contest. The first team to find the Lost World gets prize money. And
wait, this is true? This isn't just headcanon?
No, that's the plot of Donkey Kong Land 3. Our headcanon was that...
I didn't know
our
that.
Our headcanon of Donkey Kong Land 3 was that it was a radio station putting on the contest. But besides that is the legitimate plot for Donkey Kong Land 3.
Wait, so is the Lost World, quote-unquote, mentioned in DKC3? I don't remember that.
No, it's not. The Lost World is Krematoa.
Krematoa is Krematoa.
But,
so then now they're saying that wasn't the Lost World. There's an actual Lost World.
There's another Lost World.
Oh, that's kind of funny.
It's kind of lazy. But yeah. So anyway, so...
That's the whole point of the portable ones.
Well, God, Nick, we're going to have to bone up on DKL3 because we got a spotlight for that coming up this autumn, too.
Cue the music.
It's not as known. It's not as well known for its overuse of one particular track like Donkey Kong Land 2 was. So I'm going to spare the audience that grueling punishment.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that because I know very little about the plot.
Maybe I'll just put Lockjaw's Saga behind the whole damn thing again because I'm a unrepentant dick.
Sadist. Kind of like DK and Diddy in this game.
Yeah. So the actual plot of the game is that, you have all these teams racing to uncover the Lost World, and Dixie wants to, find it with Donkey and Diddy, but Donkey and Diddy are like, nah, we're good, Dixie. We're gonna team up on our own later, and they just go off to find the Lost World, and Dixie's like, what? And so she grabs Kiddy Kong. She's like, come on, Kitty, and abducts him from his crib, and Kitty's parents are like, what? Where's Kitty? And they go hunting for the Lost World. And at this point, if I were Dixie, I would have just broken up with Diddy because holy shit. But apparently they were,
especially you read the beginning of that. He just left her a note, right?
That was in Country 3, where he just leaves her a note and says, I'm going on vacation with Donkey, or I'm going to explore.
Yeah, he does it again, pretty much.
Well, I don't know if it's it's been a while since I've read the instruction manual, but they basically just take off without considering Dixie's feelings.
They didn't learn anything from their first mistake.
Right. So during Donkey Kong Land 3, you've got Donkey and Diddy off screen looking for the Lost World, and they kind of serve as unseen antagonists that you're racing against in the game to find the Lost World. And granted, you also have the Kremlings who are also trying to find a Lost World, and K. Rool. So it's just all these entities who were... it's a bit unclear if K. Rool is working in concert with the Kremlings, because Chaos is still in the game, so Chaos is presumably still their king. So maybe K. Rool is working independently of the Kremlin crew. But it's basically...
Now, to jump back to DK Land 2, we were talking about the genocide.
Yeah.
Apparently they didn't all die if it just raised back out of the water and they're all still there, right?
Well, presumably a large number of Kremlings did escape Crocodile Isle or weren't on Crocodile Isle when it went down. So
I don't think there was genocide. I think it all went fine.
Oh no! It's more fun if there's extremely dark consequences to their actions, Nick.
It is a dark game.
Yeah, I like how we say, "Oh, Donkey Kong Country 2 is so dark and gritty and brooding, like it's Batman v Superman," and it's like, no, it's got a dark color palette. It's it's not like it's.
I mean, Diddy and DK's mom is both named Martha. So.
Yeah. It's not like cutlasses were slitting their wrist or anything.
You didn't play my version of the game.
Yo, I'm sorry. Well, that's just If you do whippets and huff paint before playing Donkey Kong Country 2, I'm sure you're going to see an unusual interpretation of the game, but it's not really canon, is it, Nick? So yeah, Donkey and Diddy aren't in DKL3, but they're basically serving as like people you're racing against. And in the end, K. Rool is the first one to get into the Lost World, so he kind of wins in the end. Even though you beat him, you beat him up, he still gets away and maybe gets the prize.
Is he still in his Baron form?
Yeah.
Well, how do you escape the egg?
we'll get into this in the Donkey Kong Land 3 spot. I'm not going to spoil it now. No.
Good point. Good point.
All right. But it's not even about Diddy Kong. We're talking about K. Rool here. I probably talked about in the character witness episode of K. Rool anyway.
I'll have to go back. It's a good episode.
But here's the interesting thing about Diddy Kong re Donkey Kong Land 3. He must always be nearby the action in the game because all of the life balloons in the game have Diddy's face on them. So my theory about the life balloons is they always take the shape of the nearest video game hero. So in Donkey Kong Country, or the most suitable protagonist of the game. So in Donkey Kong Country and Land, they were in the shape of Donkey. Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy. Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie. But Donkey Kong Land 3, they're Diddy. And I guess it was the Game Boy team just couldn't be asked to take the Dixie sprite and put it on the Game Boy. I don't really know, but they still had these assets from Donkey Kong Land 2, and they were just like, yeah, that's good enough. But Donkey Kong Land 3 was lazy in quite a few ways, but yeah, it would have to mean that Diddy is always nearby. So he and Donkey are close to the action of Donkey Kong Land 3, but they're always just kind of unseen off screen. And by the way, that life balloon theory holds up in Donkey Kong Country Returns, because when Donkey and Diddy team up, the balloons can't decide which one to take the form of, so they just have a neutral balloon appearance.
Interesting.
I think way too much about this stupid shit, and
yeah, you do.
Yeah,
but that's why we love you.
I will not rest until everything is massaged into this logical state of being. And it's funny.
Doing your massages, dude.
Yeah, I need to get one. My back is killing me from all those goddamn books I carried in middle school.
Where's your wife when you need her?
Well, I tell her to get out of the house when I'm recording the conversation, obviously.
Oh, yeah. Honey, leave! Daddy's doing donkey shit.
Let's move on to Diddy Kong Racing. His crowning glory. Actually, Nick, I think you need to preface it by doing the creepy little kid laugh. Oh, that's the nightmare fuel.
Why is that? I always feel such shame when I boot up that game as like an adult man. I'm like, nice, time to play some I'm playing a baby game.
It's it's a stock sound effect, right?
Is it really?
It's like the Wilhelm scream. It's something.
I thought it was like David Wise's like dungeon full of kids.
It's weird because it's like the Wilhelm scream. It's used in a lot of things. And there's actually a blog that calls it the Diddy laugh, and like tracks every time it pops up in TV or movies or commercials.
The Diddy laugh. Why was Diddy Kong Racing the first to use it?
It's what most people of a certain generation know it for.
Remember it? Okay.
I mean, it's the. I think because it was right at the beginning of the game that it was like. It's where like we recognize it from, and we can like I readily identify it as, oh my god, that's the laugh from Diddy Kong Racing.
Yet there's no blog about the yellow dinosaur. What is the world coming to?
If DK Vine had just a blog, it would be about that. No, I think that laugh was there, and again, we'll save it for the Spotlight episode. But I don't know why that laugh was there. Honestly, it's disconcerting. Like I know a lot of like the children of Rare employees like did the voices in that game, but I so for the longest time I thought that was just like the laughter of Rare children, but no, it's not even that. So
I think they just wanted to give it a fun-loving Saturday morning cartoon kids show type of thing.
Yeah, but it sounded like I don't know the Shining Hotel or something, or like it was just.
Someone needs to edit that laugh into The Shining, like when he sees the bloody hallway. That was worth it.
Anyway, Diddy Kong Racing. This is, after Diddy proved himself a hero, he got his own video game that was completely divorced from Donkey Kong himself. Donkey Kong does not.
And he got a driver's license.
Yeah, well, I don't think you need a driver's license in order to drive a go-kart.
Really?
No, I mean, you can just go to a go-kart track and when you're a kid, and yeah.
These were off-road, though.
Yeah, but they were still tracks in the context of Timbers Island. They were the racetracks of Timbers Island. Anyway, the practice of Diddy actually headlining a game, because, he was the star of Donkey Kong Country 2, but Donkey Kong still got top billing. But it started and only happened so far with Diddy Kong Racing 20 years on, but it would have continued had Rare stayed with Nintendo, as Diddy Kong Pilot was in the works before the buyout occurred. And what's interesting when you consider that is Donkey Kong was in Diddy Kong Pilot, but
as a co-character.
Yeah, but Diddy got top billing. So it's interesting that it showed that there was a quality in their partnership, and that either one could headline a game that they were both in. So I really liked that, and that was all that promise that the Donkey Kong series had right before the buyout. As okay as I am with the Rare buyout, as much as I love what they're doing on the Xbox, and as much as I like Retro's take on Donkey Kong,
you miss Diddy.
Well, I miss the promise for the Donkey Kong series. It's just Donkey Kong Racing, and even Coconut.
Diddy's pretty much back to being a sidekick, one of 4 sidekicks.
Pretty much, and we'll get into that a bit. Games. And, granted, I wouldn't trade, as much as I was looking forward to Coconut Crackers, I think It's Mr. Pants is the better, deal there. But I still lament how far the Donkey Kong series has fallen without Rare to help guide it,
Yeah.
Anyway, Diddy Kong Racing, Diddy's big starring game. So, Wizpig invades Timbers Island, so his old friend from childhood writes to the newly minted video game hero for help. Diddy teams up with some Timbers Island natives, as well as Crunch, who was a Kremlin spy who later befriended him, Banjo, and Conker.
I like to imagine that Timber is actually Diddy's childhood imaginary friend, and he contacts him, and he has this whole adventure going to his island and everything, but it's just really in his head. And DK looks over, and Diddy's just, playing with race cars on the floor.
Drooling slightly.
Yeah. You never know.
Well, but if we accept the events of Diddy Kong Racing DS as canon, then either Diddy just keeps going back to that fantasy, or...
It's more fun if it's real.
And of course it's real, because Banjo and Conker are there. And this is what kicks off the Donkey Kong universe. The shared Rare universe really begins with Diddy Kong Racing.
That just happened.
Fashion update, though. Diddy, in this game, now has the stars and the Nintendo hat on his actual in-game model for the very first time. Although slight variance to it, the hat has a bit of a metallic sheen on it in Diddy Kong Racing, which I'm not really sure what the purpose was for that, but I do consider that canon, that Diddy does have a metallic version of his Nintendo hat.
It's for when he's driving at night. It kind of works as a light.
Yeah, there you go. Shines. There you go. He also has blue eyes for the first time, and that's something... It's a weird design choice Rare added to him, and I'm not really sure the reasoning behind it, but Diddy got blue eyes in Diddy Kong Racing, and that's something that would continue for the next 5 years.
I think they were just fans of old Blue Eyes Ben Grimm.
I thought you were going to say Frank Sinatra, but you went with a Fantastic Four reference because you referenced The Incredibles earlier, right? Is that your train of thought?
Much more. Maybe. Or Frank Sinatra is just a womanizing bastard.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
I'm sure he beat his wife several times. He didn't need the old Angry Orchard to do it, am I right?
No.
We did get one phone call about Diddy Kong's eyes. Yeah, it's a short one. Here we go.
Hey, you know how Diddy Kong has that, one eyeball thing going on? Like Sonic the Hedgehog, sort of? Do you think that's a birth defect?
Thank you for the call. No, I don't think his one eyeball is a birth defect. I don't think he has one eyeball. I think he has two eyes that are just really close next to each other, and it looks like one eyeball.
Now, has it always been the one eyeball thing on every model, or is that Diddy Kong Racing?
Oh, no, it's always been like one eyeball, although, you can sometimes see in some... I don't know if in some artwork it looks like it's separated. I know...
Because I swear I've seen it.
Well, in some Kongs who have the similar one eyeball design, you can see the dividing line more clearly in between, where you can see, they're clearly two eyeballs. So, no, Diddy doesn't have...
When I drew him in my comic, it was just like two little floating eyeballs in like a void of blackness. Because they all have this weird kind of brow cave of blackness. You know what I mean?
Well... Yeah, although the monkey characters don't really have the brow like the gorilla characters do. Or most of the gorilla characters do.
I was probably just drawing him extremely wrong. But...
whatever. I mean, you have an extremely exaggerated art style anyway, so... what's a little liberty?
Saul Good.
Yeah, Saul Good, man. Better Call Saul, the title, it's referring to Jimmy himself, the alias he takes. That's a twist. I'm sorry to spoil it for you.
Dude.
Yeah.
Dude, next year you're going to tell me Bruce Willis was dead the whole time.
Just his career.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
It took a while, and it certainly died hard, but it did die with a vengeance. Lived free for a while, but it finally found a good day.
You're out of your fifth element.
I bet when he hears that, he'll be seeing red.
Well, this curse of these jokes is unbreakable.
It's going to take the whole 9 yards for us to get back on topic.
Given how much we've been talking this episode, we must have covered at least 12 months.
Oh, anyway, Diddy Kong Racing. A bit of the history, even though this isn't really biographical for Diddy Kong, it is interesting that Diddy Kong was not supposed to be the star of Diddy Kong Racing. And again, we'll get into this in our spotlight, but...
It was going to be Bumper, right? Originally?
Well, it was originally going to be RC Pro-Am 64, and then it became like Wild Cartoon Kingdom, or I forget the chronology, maybe it was switched, but... Yeah, the characters of Diddy Kong was not going to be in Diddy Kong Racing, even when they settled on like the cute animal characters. And
yeah, it was going to be called Bumper's Bump and Hump, wasn't it? And
I would play the hell out of that game, let me just say.
Welcome to Bumper's Bump and Hump.
You want to talk about fluids being released in a movie theater? Bumper's your man. I guess it was never canonically settled where he masturbated in public.
I like to think it was a playground. There were like tons of parents there, so it was like totally blatant and ballsy of him to do.
I always wanted to do like the opening to the Zack Snyder Watchmen movie, which was like brilliant. Say what you will about the rest of the movie, but
fucking great opening.
So I always wanted the sequel to Diddy Kong Racing, the Kevin Callahan promised sequel to Diddy Kong Racing, to open with like the times are a changing montage.
And this shows what everyone's been through.
That picks up right at the end of Diddy Kong Racing 97 and then shows us the next 20 years to the times are a changing, or maybe David Bowie's changes, but something like that. And I always just wanted no context, because Nintendo wouldn't allow it otherwise, but no context, but have Bumper being hauled out in cuffs from a movie theater.
That would be in slow motion.
Yeah. Canon. It's canon that he masturbated in public. We just don't know where.
Pipsy's pole dancing.
Maybe when Frank Miller's Sin City was like really...
Yeah, I was right about to say that.
But I was like, oh, Pipsy needs to be Tip Tup became a banjo character. Pipsy needs to become a Conker character. And because it's Conker, of course, you become a whore. But I've kind of matured out of that sense. Bumper would have to become the Conker character.
Tired, Grandma.
Have Bumper become the Conker character because he's the one...
Pipsy should become like a rocket scientist.
Yeah, exactly. Well, she should go into space because, that was one of the concepts that she evolved into Pipsy was the mouse character in space. So. But Bumper would be right at home in the Conquer series. And as far as we know, Rare owns the rights to all of the non-Diddy or Crunch Diddy Kong racers. Donkey Kong 64. Before we get into Donkey Kong 64, it's worth noting the nephew controversy. So let's discuss this real quick, because in 1999, for apparently no reason, suddenly there seemed to be this decree that every Kong's relationship to one another had to be established as a literal family member. So, for example, they were the Kong family, but that was always understood as just this general kind of like clan name, because if Diddy and Dixie are dating, well, they can't really be a family, even though they both have the same last name. Kong, can they? Same for Donkey and Candy.
Do we know who was the impetus for this like family push?
No. I assume it came from Nintendo, or at the very least, it came.
Maybe it's Vin Diesel. He's all about family.
He is all about family. The Rock, however, feels that Vin Diesel is a candy ass. So
yeah. Well, Candy Kong.
Oh, okay. Well, when he's president, he needs to sort that out. It needs to be in his first 100 days of his agenda. It was the Smash Brothers character biography, the fourth father to the trophy bios in later Smash games, that had Donkey Kong's bio mention Diddy Kong, and it called him his favorite nephew, or something of that.
Favorite? He has multiple.
Yeah. And that was probably just Smash Brothers like wankery, like Captain K. Rool is K. Rool's brother. Like, they didn't have the authority to say that because, okay, look, there are a lot of fans who stand by this, and my argument is biologically Diddy Kong is a monkey, Donkey Kong is a gorilla, and Diddy Kong has an established but unseen family. So it doesn't.
He's an adopted nephew.
I mean, we use that excuse for Kiddy Kong in Donkey Kong Country 3 that he was adopted by Dixie's family because Kiddy is.
I think it's because whoever wrote the Smash Trophies visited Kong Island and they saw Donkey and Diddy playing wrestling, and he told them to say uncle a lot, so they just took it out of context.
Horace Golightly did not visit Donkey Kong Island for the Smash bios. For those of you who don't know, that's the fictional explorer Rare created to document the piñatas on Piñata Island, and it basically gave an in-universe explanation for what Rare is. Rare is a video game company that makes characters based on the things seen in the Rare archipelago, and Horace Golightly is the explorer who reports his findings back to Rare. So, pretty cool. Anyway, so DK Vine, we launched in 1999, a few short months after Super Smash Bros. Came out, and we explained it as Diddy isn't actually Donkey Kong's nephew, but Donkey Kong just views him as a nephew. They're that close now. They're family. The Donkey Kong 64 instruction manual referenced it as well, but I think that was just trying to make the best out of a bad situation, kind of like the crystal coconuts in that game. Like, oh god, these people are giving us this shit to work with. We have to work it in somehow. So,
I mean, if Tiny is a German attorney, anything goes.
Yeah, that's true. I think Loveday described him in the DK64 instruction manual as his nephew wannabe, so that's how we massage that away. But no, they're just buds. They've got that like surrogate brother dynamic going on. But I think if you actually introduce them as blood relatives, even ignoring the biological impossibility of that, or even like adopted relatives, then you introduce nepotism in the Diddy Kong story, and it's not as meaningful.
Maybe he didn't know he was his uncle at first. Like, later they did, like, a family tree test online.
It still doesn't work, though. Like, I can't find out that I'm related to a badger or
No, but maybe at some point in the Kong tree, somebody married a monkey.
Yeah, but biologically, a monkey and a gorilla cannot reproduce.
But I thought we said Kongs aren't normal gorillas.
They're evolved. Like, Donkey Kong is a gorilla, but his type of gorilla is not a gorilla found.
Maybe their semen has evolved as well.
Well, then
we'll have to take some.
Okay, the only way I would allow that, okay, is if that's fully explained in its own video game, and that needs to be the central plot.
A VR video game.
Yeah, where there's a milking table for the Kongs.
Oh, Bumper's bump and dump.
Bumper is the one doing the milking. Yeah.
Oh, that's his new job.
I'm Bumper. Just practice for my new game. Anyway, so Donkey Kong 64 was his first big adventure post DKC2 and Diddy Kong Racing. And Diddy's portrayal in the game, I mentioned the word cocksure before. Well, he was cocksure in this game. He was far more devil-may-care, and I think this was a far cry from his more timid first appearance 5 years prior in Donkey Kong Country 1.
It was Dick Sure in this game.
Well, yeah. Balls out as always. But this is as close as he ever came to the 90s extreme. Extreme, of course, in all caps and with an X.
He did play it loud at certain points.
But this is as close as he ever came to that kind of archetypal image that some people have of him to this day. Diddy Kong is often like written off as this 90s like relic because he has a baseball cap. But Diddy was never really like that extreme. Yeah, he had the boombox in Donkey Kong Country 2, you know. But beyond that, which was, you know, okay.
Never do that again.
I'll grant you that, people. But yeah, he was never really a 90s, you know, like stuck in the 90s. Yeah, he was like he was kind of more he was portrayed as kind of full of himself a little bit in Donkey Kong 64. I mean, do you disagree, or am I just imagining things?
No, he definitely. I mean, he's got a jetpack, he's got a gun,
yeah.
He's got a guitar.
He's in the mood.
He's in the mood to milk.
That's Bumper. Let's not confuse the two. Let's save it for Bumper. Character witness, because that's just going to be a messy episode to get through.
Yeah, I would agree. He seems more like a Human Torch kind of character.
A little bit, and he still has his moments of like fear and trepidation. Like I remember the battle, you know, the boss battle with the dragonfly, Dogadon.
Dogadon.
Yeah, I couldn't like.
Why is it called that?
That's what my brain just suddenly realized. Like in fear. Wait, is there some sort of pun there in the pronunciation of that? And I've been saying it wrong all these years.
It's probably some inside joke.
I didn't see any jokes about it in Donkey Kong, the most hilarious Donkey Kong jokes.
That's true.
So I assume there's no pun, but yeah, he has his he has a jetpack in this game, and he has peanut pistols. I mean, all the Kongs have weapons, but his peanut pistols have definitely stuck around as a enduring trait thanks to Smash Brothers. So
peanuts aren't even like a jungle monkey thing.
But I like peanuts, so I'm fine with that.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I'm all about the peanut. I like cracking some shells and popping some in my mouth from time to time. I'm trying to make it sound dirty, but I'm just actually describing the physical act of eating peanuts, so I'm not sure.
You're just making me hungry, really.
Yeah. But all good things must come to an end. And Diddy, you know, he had a solid 5 years of characterization, but eventually it was the year 2002, and Rare was sold to Microsoft, which brought us the dreaded buyout era. With Nintendo in charge and Rare gone, for the most part, because they still handled the Game Boy Advance remakes of the DKC trilogy, and they did do Diddy Kong Racing DS, which DK Vine used as his own unique canonical adventure. Diddy's prominence was diminished during this time. In games like Donkey Konga 2, King of Swing, and Jungle Climber, he's basically just a secondary character to Donkey Kong. Hell, he didn't even appear or was referenced once in Jungle Beat. And,
oh yeah,
you know, this is kind of a huge drop for Diddy Kong, considering he was, I mean, for the most part, the focus of the Rare era. You know, Dixie and Donkey Kong would have their moments in the sun, but Diddy Kong was kind of the heart of the first several years of the Donkey Kong universe. And all of a sudden, now Donkey Kong got all the attention, and Diddy Kong was kind of relegated to sidekick status. And I don't think this needs to be reconciled in universe, because in universe, Diddy is still a video game hero and is still fully capable of being Donkey Kong's equal. Out of universe, it's plainly apparent he's not viewed as anything more than a sidekick. But, you know, ignoring that, Diddy Kong could still appear in his own adventure tomorrow for the sake of in-universe purposes. It's fine.
Come on, Callahan.
Come on, yeah. Come on.
Callahan.
But it's not all doom and gloom during this era, because we did see Diddy Kong quite a bit as he entered the Mushroom Kingdom and became a part of Cameo games, finally. Mario Golf Toadstool Tour was his first appearance in a Mario game, and it was really cool to finally get to play Diddy Kong, my favorite video game character, in these Mario sports games. And as much as I have issues with Mario Kart Double Dash because it is a fucking frustrating game, especially when you're playing single player, it's so much fun to just have Donkey and Diddy teamed up. And
yeah, I think it's my favorite Mario Kart, actually, when as far as not wanting to win ever. Like, if I'm not really playing it for any, like, fun, I'm just playing, or competitive, rather, you know what I mean? Like, if it's at a party, we shouldn't play that, but if you're alone, it's pretty fun.
Time trial-wise, I guess, if you're just going around the track, and you're not...
I found it pretty fun at the time. Maybe I wasn't aware of the unfairness of certain aspects.
Did you ever beat all cup mode with just Donkey and Diddy Kong? Did you, Nick? Did you?
Nah. With racing games, I never completed anything. I just played them every now and then for fun.
Okay. So that was where my anguish for Double Dash came from.
Yeah, I don't blame you, yeah. No one should have to go through that.
But no, and then you had Mario Power Tennis, where you could have Donkey and Diddy as doubles partners, which is a step up from.
That was a fun game.
It's a step up from the Mario Tennis for the N64, where Donkey Kong's double partner had to be Donkey Kong Jr., a time displaced Donkey Kong Jr. Which it is good that in one aspect that the buyout happened when it did, because Nintendo was going to put Donkey Kong Jr. in Double Dash as Donkey Kong's partner. And if that happened, then that would be the view from that point on, that Donkey Kong was Donkey Kong Jr.'s father, and Cranky Kong would have been de-retconned as being the original Donkey Kong, permanently fucking over the Donkey Kong Country series. So it was kind of a last-minute decision putting Diddy Kong, relatively last-minute decision. The code in Double Dash is still there for DK Jr. It's how Diddy is listed in the code in the game. So we missed by that much. Had the buyout not happened, the gentleman's agreement with Rare would have continued, and they would have not used Diddy Kong out of respect. And it would have fucked over the canon. So, whew! And because of that, Donkey Kong Jr. hasn't really been seen since. So the canon is preserved.
He got aborted.
I guess in a sense, yeah.
His career.
Well, I mean, we view him as the modern Donkey Kong, the adult form. So he avoided the plague that occurs with child actors. Kiddy Kong. We haven't seen Kiddy Kong in over 20 years now. It's because he turned to drugs.
Sadly.
Mm-hmm. He had that brief spin-off sitcom, Kiddy Kong Loves Chachi. Didn't end well. We should talk about, he did have a pretty cool role, I think, and pretty respectful in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. And, I say that Diddy's autonomy as a unique video game hero on par with Donkey Kong isn't respected these days. But in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, I would say it was respected. And their introduction in the story mode in the Subspace Emissary, when they're introduced, when the Koopa Troop are trying to steal the Banana Horde, and Diddy and Donkey Kong both appear as like equal, like they're just like they're like badasses. They pop out of the bushes, and Diddy like shoots them down with his peanut pistols, and then the bullet bill explodes behind them, and they do this dramatic like action hero pose.
Yeah, he had quite a lot of screen time.
Yeah, I loved it. They treated Diddy with like dignity, man.
Respect.
And that whole like cutscene of Donkey and Diddy, that's DK Vine lapped that shit up. That was an oasis in the desert of the buyout era. Yeah, because it was like the characters actually being portrayed as envisioned by Rare. And you had all these, contradictory interpretations. You had Jungle Beat with this wild, manic, unhinged Donkey Kong running around, beating people up. And you had Mario versus Donkey Kong, where Mario is fighting a Donkey Kong who is suddenly no longer his friend or is having severe emotional issues. And it was nice to see. And was nice to see him and Diddy teaming up like the old days. Another cool thing on Super Smash Bros. Brawl is Diddy Kong befriended Fox McCloud in a Subspace Emissary, which helps make him the glue of the Donkey Kong universe even more. Another fashion update. Diddy lost the blue eyes.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was waiting for the song. I was like, fashion update. Dramatic pause.
I was just so wrapped up in fashion.
Can I have a little bit of the music, please?
Yeah.
So Diddy lost the blue eyes, and he went back to just solid black pupils. So apparently Nintendo thought, too busy, or only Nazis have blue eyes, or I don't know the purpose, but anyway, whatever metallic or vaguely metallic sheen his Nintendo hat may have still had was now traded in for standard fabric. And, oh yeah, Diddy suddenly had 5 fingers and 5 toes.
What?
Yeah, so this is a thing that they changed to all of the 4-fingered rare characters they now had full ownership over or felt allowed to use. They gave them all 5 fingers and 5 toes, and this is because, of course, of the stigma, the Japanese stigma, where the Japanese mafia would cut off your digits, and cartoon characters having 4 fingers over there is viewed as a reference to that, and it's viewed as like disrespectful to the cast.
That's insane.
Yeah, to like the cast of people who have been like marred by them, by organized crime.
Yakuza,
yeah.
Yakuza.
So, yeah, that is the actual reason why Diddy Kong and the like Dixie Kong and Tiny Kong and who else?
It's so dark.
Chunky Kong, if we ever see him again. That's why they would all have 5 fingers and 5 toes now.
It's so weird how like these cute cartoon characters. There was like a meeting at some point that was like, so dark, where they were like given ultimatums of like, you have to change it because this is why,
Well, and it's so weird because it's such a staple of Western animation, the 4-finger characters, and I
still do it.
Yeah, I mean, so many.
Fuck the Yakuza.
Like all these Disney characters who must have representation over in Japan, because they're worldwide.
What about Mulan?
They're worldwide global icons, and. It's weird, but Nintendo felt like, well, we're a Japanese company, and these are our characters. We've got to fix this. Why didn't they tell Rare ahead of time, hey, you can't have Diddy Kong having 4 fingers? I don't know, but 2003 is when Diddy debuted at 5 fingers and 5 toes, and of course, we had to find an in-universe reason for this, so we came up with, I think, my personal favorite retcon to this day, prosthetic golfing fingers.
Hell yeah.
I mean, his first appearance was in the Mushroom Kingdom and with 5 fingers and 5 toes was Mario Golf Toadstool Tour. So why does he suddenly have 5 fingers? Let's find the shortest distance from A to B, people. In the Mushroom Kingdom, there must be all these characters who have different amount of digits. Like, I'm sure there's turtles or people, the Shy Guy clan, the 8-bit army of war. I don't know, but they've got to have differing number of fingers and toes in the Mushroom Kingdom. And if golf is really this big sport, presumably brought to the Mushroom Kingdom by Mario, then surely there must be a way to even a playing field. We're always talking about handicaps in golf. Well, what if people don't have as many fingers to grip the golf clubs with? Prosthetic golfing fingers. It
all makes sense.
Instead of, golfing the gloves that you wear, for better grips, you just have full-on hands you put on yourself. Or and for your stance, you have prosthetic golfing toes as well. So from there, we just extrapolated that Diddy loved it so much that he brought a whole bunch back for his 4-fingered friends. And it helps them, swing from vines, and they wear them, in their day-to-day lives. And whenever they go out to adventure, they always remember, got to put on our prosthetic golfing fingers before we go out. But at the end of the day, when Diddy's in the shower or when he's just calling it a night, he takes off his prosthetic golfing fingers, and underneath he's still got 4 fingers.
Wonder if he's ever used that extra finger for anything.
Oh, you know he has. Oh, you know it's been. You know they've had to wash quite a few of those. And sometimes they just have to throw them out because there's no getting out that smell. So, the Returns and Renaissance era. Let's get into this. There's actually not much to talk about. I mean, Diddy's story continued. The Tiki Tak tribe returned, and Diddy Kong and Donkey Kong had to not only get the banana horde back, but also free the hypnotized wildlife of Donkey Kong Island. And Diddy is much more of a sidekick in Donkey Kong Country Returns. Well, depending if you're playing single player or not. I guess if you're playing co-op, they're equal partners through and through. But he's riding Donkey Kong's back in single player. I never liked the disparity there because as somebody who likes to play single player, I don't like that Diddy is somehow diminished in single player, but in multiplayer he's like his Donkey Kong's equal, his partner. Since Diddy is my favorite video game character, just let me play as Diddy Kong, Retro.
For crying out loud.
It's something they rectified a little bit in Tropical Freeze. Once you beat the game, you can then play hard mode with any Kong of your choice, but it's still not quite the same. It should be pointed out that Diddy Kong had his jetpack in Mario Power Tennis, but it was a different model of jetpack. It was like a lot more bulky and ornate. And in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, he had his Donkey Kong 64 jetpack. And Donkey Kong Country Returns has a third model of jetpack that's different from both the DK64 and Power Tennis versions. And he wears this at all times. I guess this is our fashion update, so you can go ahead and give me some music. He wears this jetpack at all times, and it resembles a backpack, which gives him more of this like kiddish look, I guess, complete with a baseball cap. Even though at this point, if you're going to accept real-time aging, which we know happens in the Rare Shared universe, you look at Nuts and Bolts, the characters aged in real times, or Conquer Big Reunion, 10 years had passed since Bad Fur Day. Diddy must be in his early 30s by now. I realize Nintendo doesn't view it that way. Nintendo views him and Dixie Kong as children. But there's nothing in-game to really suggest they couldn't be adults. They're just monkeys. They're small. They're never going to get as big as Donkey Kong, so why not?
He certainly has matured emotionally.
I mean, I'm not saying I want Diddy Kong to have like a soul patch or anything, or like
or be standing at a urinal with a bunch of guys.
Yeah. Or, in Kevin Callahan's promised Diddy Kong Racing Switch for him to be driving a minivan with a Garfield, suction to the back of it. Or, maybe he and Dixie have started a family and they have a baby on board on the back of their go-kart. But I don't want any of that. I don't know. I like to think that Diddy Kong has aged in real time alongside me. It's going to be ridiculous in 50 years when he's 80 and he still looks the same. Then we're going to have to come up, as I always say, we're going to have to come up with a fan wank for it then, like the Kongs found the Fountain of Youth or something. But we don't have to worry about it quite yet. So allow me my fun, people, please. Continuing the fashion update. I'm sorry. I got distracted. I was confronted with my own mortality for a second, and I went to some...
That can happen when you talk about talking apes.
It can. I went to some dark places just now. I imagine myself as 80 years old, still talking about Diddy Kong, and like...
With only 4 fingers.
I only have 4 fingers, yeah, because I lost it in a furious Facebook updating accident where I was just typing way too fast.
No, I think you peed next to the wrong gangster at a urinal. 3.
And they were like, is that a Rayman 3 reference? I hated Rayman 3, and they cut off
his pinky.
Yeah. No, anyway, I was just imagining talking about this when I'm 83 years old and saying, and that's why Diddy Kong still looks like he's 30, because he found the Fountain of Youth in 2027. Good Lord. Like, that's going to happen, assuming I don't die of any ailments ahead of time.
And then someone will walk by and look, Mom, look at that old man with all the Nazi tattoos all over his body.
Wait, why do I have Nazi tattoos?
I don't know. You just changed a lot over time.
Eventually, the alt-right gets us all. Anyway, so another stylistic change that happened with the Returns era was he has a new Nintendo hat that loses the red logo on white background for an all white logo instead. Maybe he has become part of the alt-right.
I never noticed this. I mean, it is a red hat, like Make America Great Again, too. But
yeah.
I never noticed this.
No, it's because Nintendo changed their logo from the 90s. They don't have the
that makes sense.
They don't have the red logo anymore. The Nintendo logo is typically portrayed as just white or gray. Or
so now, if Rare hides their logo in Sea of Thieves, it'll have to be the new Rare logo, right?
Yeah. Which canonically, how does that work? Considering, well, there wasn't a Rare in the golden age of pirates anyway. But
never know.
You just broke my brain, Nick. I did like how this is way off topic, but I did like how Retro hid the Rare logo in Returns.
Oh yeah, where did they put that?
On the options menu, because you're like, you look down at the water and there's some coral in the water and it's the Rare logo. It was a nice tribute.
Oh whoa,
yeah, it's a really
I
nice
did not
tribute.
know that. Is it on the 3DS version too?
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
I believe it is.
Should check that out.
Oddly enough, the Retro logo isn't in the 3DS version. Even though Retro made the game, Retro is not like credited once.
What? That's like taking Hideo Kojima's name off of. Anyway.
Whatever.
Whatever.
Anyway, then there was Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, and Diddy. We complain that he's lost his leading man status, but I did like the Tropical Freeze. When you think about it, it paired Diddy alongside every other video game hero in the Donkey Kong franchise. You had Cranky.
And suddenly Cranky was a hero.
Well, okay, but...
Well, I guess he already was. Huh?
From the perspective of Donkey Kong Island, Cranky Kong was the protagonist of Donkey Kong Arcade. Yes, in our world, Mario was the hero of that game. But from the perspective of DK Island, no. Cranky was the hero of DK Arcade. And Cranky, has all this authority in the Country series where he's the video game hero. And that's why DK Arcade, from their perspective, he was the star. And there's Donkey Kong 3 anyway. There's Stanley the Bugman, but, I'm sure the denizens of the DK Isles don't view Stanley the Bugman as the protagonist of that game. Anyway, so you had Cranky Kong from DK Arcade. You had Donkey Kong, the hero of DK Jr. and Donkey Kong Country. And Dixie Kong, the hero of Donkey Kong Country 3, alongside the hero of Donkey Kong Country 2 and Diddy Kong Racing. So it was cool to have the four of them kind of come together as like one unit. Yes, Donkey Kong is technically the star, especially in one-player mode, but they're all...
That's sort of like a long time coming, because Donkey Kong hasn't had his own adventure in a while.
Well, he did get Jungle Beat all to himself.
Sure, I guess I just meant like he hasn't had a country game since the first one.
Yeah, and Returns, and then Returns and Tropical Freeze.
Yeah, Returns, It would have been nice if he wasn't the hero in Tropical Freeze, but maybe next time.
I don't think we're ever going to get a Donkey Kong game where Donkey Kong is not the protagonist ever again. But it's nice that Tropical Freeze brought back that sense of community and Donkey Kong's not the only hero of the bunch. And here's the whole... officially knighted crew of video game heroes. With all due respect to Kiddy Kong and Tiny and Lanky and Chunky, who are also heroes, but they're not, officially ordained.
With all due respect, burn in hell.
Well, they're not officially ordained or whatever. They didn't get all the hero coins. Fuck them.
They haven't been baptized.
So that brings us up to the present day. Yeah, Diddy hasn't appeared in Mario Kart 8. He's basically stopped appearing in Mario side games aside from the most recent appearance was Mario Sports Superstars. So he still appears in some.
Mario Odyssey, if we're counting Diddy Street.
Well, we don't know the extent of any. We might not even have to cover Super Mario Odyssey for all we know. Diddy's most recent appearance was in Mario Sports Superstars. And that the only reason he's in that game is because Camelot clearly loves Donkey Kong and they love Diddy Kong as well. And they didn't put him in the most recent Mario Tennis game, which was a disaster. but that was a disaster mostly for time constraints. Nintendo needed the game out ASAP because they had nothing else for their holiday season. And
do you think Diddy being sorry to interrupt? Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was just trying to explain away Camelot's misfortune with that game, but I'm sure Diddy Kong would have been in it had they had time to actually implement him.
Yeah, but I was just thinking when you said like it tends to be only companies that have a deep love for Diddy that use him. Do you think him being a monkey inherently like has some speciesist to it when featuring them? Like people don't view monkeys as cute, or like maybe they view them as like filthy dumb animals.
I know.
Do you think there's something to that? Or?
I've seen this argument on the DK Vine forum, like why Donkey Kong isn't more popular than he is among like the internet, like gaming.
Yeah,
community.
like he used to be in the 90s, obviously, but maybe monkeys were cooler then.
And he still has his.
Yeah, Dunstan checks in. And...
Well, I think like Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong and Donkey Kong Country itself, they have this resonance with the general gaming populace. Like the Donkey Kong Country Returns was highly successful because the Wii was a highly successful system that they had a huge install base. But Donkey Kong Country Returns didn't really, or Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, didn't really move the needle because...
Well, that was the Wii U's fault.
Yeah,
probably.
but no, because the only people who bought the Wii U were hardcore Nintendo fascists. And hardcore Nintendo fascists don't like Donkey Kong because they don't find... Because it isn't Japan cute, to use that term. They are West.
Why can't you like both though? I like Japan cute and I like Donkey Kong.
But I mean, I think you're a rarity, Nick. I think there's little crossover between the two. They're Western created characters, and I think because they've always kind of been outsiders. They weren't considered outsiders in the 90s when Rare was partnered with Nintendo.
Oh, no.
But this is something.
It was like a huge pendulum shift in popularity.
We're getting like way broader than I intended, but
sure, but it's still Diddy based.
Yeah. I think like Diddy would be popular if Nintendo were.
I mean, every kid wanted to be Diddy in the 90s. Like Diddy was the every kid of the 90s. Like he was super popular.
I mean, Donkey Kong Country was super popular for a few years there, and I've often said there's that magical time from 94 to 96 where Donkey and Diddy were essentially the mascots by default of Nintendo because Mario...
Yeah, you saw Diddy everywhere, and now you never see him. It's just interesting. What would they have to do, you think, to make Diddy hot with kids again? Like have him taking selfies and spouting memes and stuff? Because we don't want that, obviously. So
I mean, I think we're past the point where that might happen. I think Diddy's always going to have his fans, and people are going to become fans of Donkey Kong Country, but I don't think you're ever going to win over the hardcore Nintendo loyalist. I think the only hope we have is of Nintendo really expanding again, and the Switch has been very successful. We'll see what happens if and when we get a Donkey Kong Country game for the Switch or Diddy Kong Racing.
Hipstery to say. This might be hipstery to say, but I feel like something could be uber popular in the 90s and still be cool to me because it felt like not everybody was into video games. It still was at least sort of like a niche thing. But like nowadays, thanks to the internet and like gaming becoming more ubiquitous, it's almost like we wouldn't want Donkey Kong or Diddy Kong to be popular again because he would be like, in order for him to be popular, he'd have to be like the Minions or something like that. You know what I mean?
Oh God,
that kind of character.
Well, maybe he'll appear in that Rabbids Mario crossover.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, don't even get me started.
The Rabbids are essentially the minions of the Rayman universe, are they?
Yeah,
not?
Exactly. Yeah, they killed Rayman. He's not even in their games anymore.
Yeah,
but they're the Diddy Kong of the. I guess they broke off onto their own games. But yeah, I'm just one. Like we all wish Diddy was more popular again. But maybe we should be careful what we wish for, is all I'm saying.
I don't want him to be like, I don't know, the beginning of A Hard Day's Night where he's getting chased down the street, But
No. Just appreciate
I want Nintendo to appreciate the character. And, he made it into Smash Brothers, and that was great. And, he's...
Is it political, you think? Is it the Rare thing? Is that the only reason he doesn't get featured?
I think a little bit. I think because he's not native born, and because... He's not anybody's pet character. Like you've got, these creators who Like Kirby is still, going strong.
Yeah, and I would complain about that if the games weren't still really good.
I'm not saying they're not good, but I'm saying like you look
Yeah.
at the sales of Kirby's games, and there's less justification for keeping Kirby around than there is, say, Donkey Kong. But Donkey Kong doesn't really have a home right now.
It's weird. It kind of just is. Like, they have to include him just because they have to.
Miyamoto goes to bat for Donkey Kong every so often, but,
I think it'd be cool if we get back to the days where when a sports game came out, every character in that game had some recent game that they were repping. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
Well,
but instead, it's just Donkey Kong's in it because he has to.
We've had so many like franchise collapses at Nintendo where Nintendo's essentially Mario and Zelda and Pokemon, but that doesn't really count. And then you got Fire Emblem. Yeah.
That's what they need to do. They need to put Donkey Kong in Fire Emblem.
Or just have
That'll get them.
Just have a Donkey Kong strategy game in the mold of Fire Emblem. Just fuck it.
But in anime style.
I'm hoping, Kevin Callahan's prophecies somehow come to light, although it's becoming more and more unlikely by the year.
I'm going to start programming the Donkey Kong Fire Emblem right now. I'm going to call it Banana Logo.
Okay, you do that. Yeah.
Let's do it. I am Gibbon, or whoever. Is he a programmer? I forget.
I don't know what he does.
Whoever's a programmer, get on it. Agent 8, get on it. Banana Logo. For the iPhone. It'll be the new Clash of Kings or whatever the hell, that Clash of Clans.
Oh, God. Or you could get, what's her name? Bleach Blonde McJugs.
Candy Kong?
No. That model that's like really hot right now, although I don't think she's attractive at all.
Kate Upton?
Kate Upton, yeah.
I can't even picture her in my mind what her face looks like. I don't know what she looks like.
But she was in those commercials for the game, so she...
Like Carl's Jr. or something? Oh, she was in the... Oh, that was her?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Get her in your game.
She's pretty generic looking.
Just like hot glue fur to her and say she's Candy Kong.
Hell, it worked from the meet cute.
The future is uncertain for Diddy Kong. He was excluded in Mario Kart 8. We don't know if Diddy Kong Racing Switch is actually a thing, but it's looking increasingly unlikely. We don't know when or if we're going to get a Donkey Kong Country game this generation, but it's doubtful it's going to come from Retro. It's kind of a period of uncertainty for Diddy Kong. And, here we are on the precipice of the 20th anniversary of Diddy Kong Racing, which was like this huge moment of, oh my God, Diddy Kong has his own game. The prophecy of him being a video game hero was fulfilled. And now we're just kind of in this vast desert where... Oh, he'll still appear in a Mario sports game, but the lesser ones, from time to time. And
now you'll overhear the conversation. Remember when Diddy Kong became a video game hero and people just say, I don't know, did he?
So the future is uncertain, but if DK Vine has any say in it, we're going to keep hammering home the importance of Diddy Kong. And what is the importance of Diddy Kong? Well...
What isn't?
From my perspective... And I would think you would agree, and many of you at home would agree, he is the moral center of the Donkey Kong series. Because whenever Donkey Kong is paired with Diddy Kong, he cannot possibly be portrayed in a villainous light. It's one reason that Diddy may have never appeared in the Mario vs. Donkey Kong game, because you can't really have Mario fight Donkey Kong if Diddy Kong is with them. Diddy Kong is virtuous.
It's like that feeling I get, like I said, when I look at old artwork of the original Rayman, like I just get this warm-hearted, like there's a good-hearted moral character that like I want to. Maybe I don't know a ton about that character, but I want to be that character and like go on this adventure. Like that's the same thing when I see Diddy Kong now. I just smile and think like, look at that little scamp. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he's Donkey Kong's conscious, basically. He's the angel on his shoulder, keeping him from de-evolving into a barrel-throwing madman whisking away maidens at the top of girders. So
he's Jiminy Chimpet.
He's not a chimp, though. I hate when people call him a chimp. I hate it, Nick.
It's the only thing that vaguely rhymed. What is he if not a chimp, then? He's a
monkey. He's just a monkey. He's some sort of monkey. I don't know.
He ain't a chimp, but he certainly is a pansy.
What?
Chimpanzee.
Oh, God. I'm so many Angry Orchards deep right now that I'm gonna have to start beating you. We're gonna have to get eloped, and then I can start beating you.
I might like that.
Take you to the milking table.
This has been a File 2 production.
Kafifi.